workshop, and thank you for everyone who took the time out of your day to come here and to be a part of this discussion. And also, I'd like to welcome anyone who's watching this live on our Facebook feed, and also invite you, if you're watching and you're a Lynn Haven resident, if you'd like to make your comments as well. If you're watching from other areas of the county and don't actually live in Lynn Haven, we would ask that you just, watch and enjoy, or make a comment and then say, but I'm not a Lynn Haven resident, that kind of thing. We would appreciate that very much. And we are very happy that you would think to take part in our meeting. So just a few things about the workshop this evening. First of all, in the very beginning, I've asked our acting city manager, Ms. Vicki Gaynor, if she would give sort of a state of the city address, because we've been through a lot in the last 8 months, and many of the residents still, you don't have time to come to City Hall and go through all of the, make the public records request and see what the finances look like. And it's very confusing when you hear things like FEMA reimbursement and the different kinds of grants, the different invoices, the debris haulers, what push, chip, and haul mean, all those different things that you may not have been involved with on a day-to-day basis. And so Ms. Gaynor is going to give a presentation at the beginning of tonight's meeting right now and sort of bring everybody up to date on how much do we owe and how much are we borrowing, how are we going to repay this, those kinds of questions as Lynn Haven moves forward. And then we'll get to what I consider the enjoyable part of tonight's meeting, getting to hear from you. And you can hear from each other. You may find ideas with each other. And we're going to be doing this for the next 4 months, the last meeting of each month, because it is at the 6 o'clock hour in the evening when more people, especially if you're working or have children, that you might be able to come at an easier time. And we're going to try and focus on a different part of the rebuild at each meeting. But that doesn't mean you can't talk about other things too. If you want to discuss the rebuild in general and then make some comments about City Hall tonight. We're talking about the City Hall complex tonight in general. There's some drawings that have been set by the door. Those drawings are not set in stone by any means, and I wanted to sort of give you a small explanation of how they came about. Russell Johnson, who is a local architect, back in the winter, we contacted him. When I say we, the city staff and myself, the city manager at that time, and we just asked for a rendering of something that would reflect the old Florida Spanish architecture of the old City Hall. As most of you know, the roof was ripped off of the old City Hall. I actually witnessed that happen during the storm, and so the inside of it was severely damaged. And we had already moved the water department from that building anyway, and it had become almost historical in that it only had the city manager's office, assistants, a conference room. It's very cut up inside. And so one of the things that we've been talking about, and we'd like to hear from you tonight, is that we would maybe make that building, because we certainly don't want to take it down. It's an icon of Lynn Haven, built in 1928. And it once housed a jail. It once housed our original fire truck. And so we're thinking of that maybe as a possible museum to keep our city artifacts. We already own the original fire truck, which we could put back in there. We could have the jail, the mayor's office, all those things that children can learn about and that we can go back to look at. So those are some thoughts that we had, but they're certainly not decisions that have been made. The City Hall drawings that you see are a reflection of this one particular architect's ideas. He took several pictures. I went online and found pictures all over Florida of municipal buildings that had that old Florida architecture style, the Deco style, and he came up with that with sort of a modern flair. His thoughts were that the police department would be on the bottom floor, the administrative offices on the second, and the third floor would be the chambers or the meeting room. And because we're so close in proximity to water all around us, that people who were in the meetings would be able to look out over the bay from that level. But that building could certainly be changed to 2 stories or even 1 story, based on whatever your input is. So those are just thoughts, and I'll kind of leave it with that. And one more point of interest, you were each given a green and a red card. And so tonight during the workshop, as well as the commission meeting, it's just sort of a little experiment as people are making comments. If you agree with them and you like what they're saying, you can hold up your green card, like go. And if you do not agree and you've got a different idea of how we should go, then your red card shows that you don't agree. It's just a way that we can sort of build consensus. Remember that your card reflects your disagreement with the idea or the agreement with the idea, not your disagreement with the person. It's just the ideas that we're talking about. And I think we're going to have a really, really good meeting. And then finally, keep in mind that tonight we really want to focus on your thoughts about City Hall, the location of it, what you think it should look like, how big it should be, what it should cost, all those things as you have time to speak. I am not going to impose the 3-minute limit tonight. I talked about that with a couple of people, and we're just going to let everybody talk. This is a public workshop. Please don't sermonize for 25 minutes because I said that. Okay, just get your ideas out there. Let us know what you're thinking, but I don't want you to feel constrained by time. I want you to speak freely and say those things that you came here to say. So with that, I would ask Mr. Leon Miller if he would first lead us in a word of prayer, and then I'll let Ms. Gaynor take off with her presentation.
May we pray. Our Father God, we come again to say thanks, O Heavenly Father. Thank you for the many blessings that you have stored upon us this week, O Heavenly Father. Thank you as you guided us through Hurricane Michael, O Heavenly Father, that you brought us together to be a most stronger in this community, O Heavenly Father. Again, O Heavenly Father, at this meeting tonight, O Heavenly Father, we ask you to guide us in the right directions, O Heavenly Father. O Heavenly Father, we just want to say thanks to the citizens who come out tonight to support this idea, O Heavenly Father. And when we depart the doors this afternoon, O Heavenly Father, we will leave with love and happiness in our heart, O Heavenly Father. Again, O Heavenly Father, thank you for all the blessings that you have given to us, that you have been gooder to us than we have to ourselves sometime. Amen.
Amen. Can you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. As Ms. Vicki Gaynor is making her way over to the presentation area, I would just like to say a very special thank you to her. I know she was up at 10:30 one night this week working on this because I was talking with her. She has really put in the hours and has done a great job in carrying us through this difficult time. So thank you for all the work that you've put into this.
Thank you. Hopefully that's on. Okay. So we wanted to kind of give you an update of what's going on with the city of Lynn Haven and some places that where we are, where we've been, and where we're going.
May I interrupt just a moment? Can everyone hear? I don't think it's, can we turn it up a little bit louder? I see some people in that. Thank you very much.
Testing. Is that better?
That's much better.
That's
Thank you.
much. Okay, great. So the first thing is we're going to do, I hope.
Technology is a beautiful thing sometimes when it works. I'm sure we'll get there. Thank you for your patience. While they're looking and making this, bringing this about and making it work, if you can't see from where you're sitting, please feel free to get up and move to the sidelines to stand for the presentation so that you can see.
It's locked up.
Here we go.
There we go. I think we have it. There we go. I see.
Apparently the door is locked on the outside. Willoughby's going to take care of it. Thank you.
Okay, ready?
Yes, finally. Thank you.
So here's what we're going to go through just in a little agenda. We're going to do a little bit of overview. talk about some estimated damages, a quick financial update, debris costs, FEMA public assistance, and I know a lot of you want to know a little bit more about that, grants and loan, restoration account, that's our insurance account, and of course, other funding. So on October 10th, we know something devastating happened to us all. Well, I don't have to go any further with that because we're all living it right now. But moving on, the mayors, commissioners, city staff, all pulled together to kind of help things work along day and night. There were many staff members that worked from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night daily. Mayor can attest to that. Commissioner Russell can attest to that as well. But we got it done. And so we spent countless hours since that time working with FEMA officials to make sure that the city can recover and rebuild. That is our goal in everything that we do. We estimate about 85% of our homes or private properties in the city of Inland Haven were damaged. That's what we know now. So not only did it impact our homes, it also impacted our city business. For instance, we had water and sewer and sanitation bills that had to come out. Those did not. Commission thought great enough for our citizens to say, let's make sure that we don't charge folks fees, we don't do, cut off waters, or we don't do any of those, none of the utilities. In the midst of these 6 months, we did a lot of adjustments for many of our residents because there were broken meters, there were leaks, you had higher than normal water bills. And with that, we adjusted more than $115,000 worth of bills. So to put that in perspective, what was it before? We had roughly 10,281 accounts. As of 5/31, we have lost almost 1,156 accounts. That's about 11% of our accounts. So now we get to what we consider damages. We've gone through, Hurricane Michael was hit. We are adjusting bills, and now we are estimating, or we're looking at our damages. So part of the problem is, thank you. Let me switch mics. Testing. Okay, so our estimated damages right now is about $71 million. Where in the world does $71 million come from? So we look at Cat A. Cat A was debris removal. We know when after Hurricane Michael, debris was everywhere. It stayed with us. It seemed like it kept growing. We would move it and it would come back. And we continued to move it, even until May 31st. We were still moving debris. So in that $30 million, included is debris removal, private property debris removal, and ditches, and also waterways. In Cat B, that's our emergency work. That's where we had to get people through our roads, and so we decided we needed someone to go out and cut and push all of those big trees and logs, whatever, to clear our roads. So that's Cat B. And with that amount in Cat B, that we estimate about $4.5 million. Cat C is just roads and bridges and culverts and sidewalks and signs and all of those things. And Cat C, we estimate about $8 million that we will have in damages. Cat E, of course, is buildings. That's pretty self-explanatory. But Cat F, we have utilities and lift stations and water plants, reuse plants, water treatment plants. All of those damages are in categories, and we have to put those in categories. And once those are in categories, we have to upload those to FEMA so they can actually see what those damages are. And then lastly, we have Cat G. And most of the time we think of Cat G as just parks and recreation. Well, it's not. It deals with parks and cemeteries and shelters and the pier and all of those areas which kind of give us some quality of life, if you want to think of it that way. And so this kind of combines our $71 million we think are estimated damages. It may be more, it may be less. But at this point, this is kind of where we're estimating. So we talk about our general fund reserves, and those are reserves are like our net worth. What would we do if we didn't have cash? That's kind of over there to the side. You really don't want to touch, and maybe a little bit of money we made in the past. It's not something you're going to spend every day. But we have a general fund reserve. Usually we budget about $16 million in our general fund. So if you look at the unassigned is what's left over, kind of what's left over. You'll see we've been doing pretty good these past couple of years. But when we looked at unrestricted, this includes impact fees, capital projects, due to expansion, debt sinking funds. We are required when we have bonds to keep a certain amount into an account, and then that funds are swept to pay those bills. And so fund reserves, we right now are looking fairly good, but that doesn't mean we go out and buy 5 fire trucks because we have some in reserve. I know Chief would love that, but that's not the case right now. So enterprise reserves. This is specifically for water, sewer, sanitation, and stormwater. Enterprise funds are goods or services to the public we give them to the public for a fee. So it's kind of self-supporting. Example is we charge for water. You pay us for water. It goes back into the water fund. But we do have some restrictions on water, sewer, stormwater, and where we have impact fees that can only be used for the development of growth. For instance, here's a great example of restricted funds. When you give us your deposit money to open up an account, that is usually you pay us $150. Well, we can't just say that money is out there for us to spend. That is your $150. So when you decide that you're going to close your account, we'll final out your bill and we'll send you the rest of your money. So that's where these funds come from, some of them. Now let's look at our cash. So our cash is very, very important. This is the cash is what we need on hand to pay operating expenses, especially in the unrestricted. This is unrestricted that I'm talking about. We pay operating expenses, we pay payroll, benefits, utilities, supplies, paving, tipping fees. All of that is kind of unrestricted. Professional services, and that money, we even put some of the FEMA funds that we will receive into that. But when we look at restricted funds, again, those restricted funds are impact fees and bond sinking accounts, surtax proceeds for paving. This can only be used in a certain area. If you look here with our cash kind of did a dive in 2018. And then we look pretty good here in 2019. If you'll see both 2017, 2018, look over at the totals. This is the cash totals of these two accounts, unrestricted and restricted. So it looks like that we may have a lot of money there, but some of that money in restricted we cannot touch for everything. And so if you look in 2019, we're about 10 million probably trending where we were in 2017, somewhere along in there. And then cash enterprise, same thing goes here. Unrestricted cash includes impacts fees and water and stormwater, street, restricted funds, or again, sinking bond accounts, capital improvements, sales tax, any type of reserves for water. This is cash. When it's unrestricted, it can be utilized a lot more than restricted. It has to be utilized in that particular area. So these are our enterprise funds. Enterprise funds, again, are water, sewer, sanitation, stormwater. These are the things that make our city run. So last slide, in terms of where we are, our debt. So we have some outstanding bonds looking back on 2007, coming into 2017. And then we added some other bond to 2007 in 2017, including the 17th Street ditch note that we added. We also, in 2018, we did a $6 million surtax bond that added a little bit to 2018, and you can see it going up. And we also added an SRF fund for $4.4 million. So it kind of puts you right in that area where we want to be in terms of about 10.7. If we look at 2019, it goes to $12 million. And the reason it goes to $12 million is simply because that's where we took out our $2.3 million line of credit. So if we look at the overall picture of general fund and enterprise fund debt, we're looking at, in 2019, we're roughly around $32 million, okay? So here's where some of the debt will occur and costs will occur, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this. So our total estimated costs for debris, this is estimated. It may be more, it may be less. And remember, that's debris costs, things that we moved all of the C&D off the side of the road, the private property debris, waterways and ditches, all of those things. We estimate about $30 million that we're going to have in costs in terms of debris costs. We've been invoiced by our haulers. You hear the word haulers a lot. That's what they are. We've been invoiced so far about $19.8 million. And we expect more to come. This is not all of it. This is just up until about the last part of April. So we expect that we will receive some more invoices because we still have some programs that we have to do. And we still have some areas we need to serve in terms of the haulers. And so balance owed right now, this is not all we owe, this is just what we know we've been invoiced for, is about $10.5. That's just in debris cost. So how do we get some of this money back? Through FEMA public assistance. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how we can get some of these, recoup some of these costs back. So initially, our costs that we have incurred, we set up what's called a disaster recovery fund. We have initial costs totaling about $33 million for. That's what we have incurred to date. Total cost that we have submitted to FEMA, and you see here the items, and we have submitted to FEMA. We submitted the expedited. That is that's the 45-day debris. Expedited meaning that it was going to come back pretty fast, but not so fast. That was $9.9 million. They gave us 50% of that up front. They still owe us another $4.9 million. In the meantime, we are continually submitting to FEMA to get our money, because remember, you can only be reimbursed about what you spend. So if you don't spend, you can't submit something you haven't spent yet. Once you spend it, you can submit it to be reimbursed. And so that's one area we will get reimbursed at 100%. The second 100% reimbursement is the 40 expedited 45-day emergency. We talked about that, whether it was cut and push, emergency, fire, all of those things. We realized that we're probably going to get about $3.4 million in that, and that's going to be 100% that we will get back in reimbursements. Now we get into category A again, but this is post 45-day. Remember, we had the 75% reimbursement, and then the president came along and he says, so he's going to let us be reimbursed at 90%. That is great to hear for us as residents, as city, because this is going to help us along the way. We have submitted nearly a little bit over $8 million. We're going to get reimbursed for that at 90%. So what is our cost share? Remember that the state gets the cost share of the 10%, which is 5, and we get a cost share. That's going to be a little bit over $404,000, $100,000, $741. So we're going to have to spend some money when our costs come back to us, or our bill, I call them, our bill comes back to us. Other things that we are looking at to try to recoup costs and pay down some of the debt that we have. So we have what's called the Nrcs. All of these that you see here are reimbursements, ways of being reimbursed. The city received notice that we have been selected and granted this grant through Nrcs. The primary goal of this grant is to clean waterways and ditches. FEMA will not pay any of these costs. So we got this grant. We're going to be reimbursed at 75%. That means that the city's cost share is going to be a little bit over $1.9 million. And the total grant you see is 8.2. Great program, but first you have to spend the money in order to be reimbursed. Second, the state revolving emergency fund. This is something that our utilities and our city engineers went out after, and we were able to pull some money, a little bit over $1 million for wastewater, and a little bit over, well, right at $600,000 for water. Again, this is a cost share. This is a reimbursement. 75% we'll get reimbursed for. 25% we can choose to do two things. We can take out a very low interest loan for 0.9%, somewhere along in there, or we can just decide to pay it back with reimbursement money. So we'll have to decide how we want to handle this particular fund. Then we are looking at other grants. Every day we are looking to find funding for the city. One of the funding sources is called the Community Disaster Loan. We've done some research on that, and all that we know that no one has ever paid back this loan. According to the loan, it's either deferred or maybe never paid back. What we're waiting on now, everything is in place and ready to go. We are waiting on an audit. That's what we're waiting on to be able to submit this loan, this actual loan program. And then lastly, we received from the Florida Legislature Local Funding Initiative, one of our engineering firms applied for this. You actually applied for $5 million and you got $1 million. But this is actually for road improvements in the city of Lynn Haven. It's a grant. So what happens with grants? You pay the money up front and you get reimbursed. Okay? We also have what's called, we call it a restoration account. It's really an insurance account. One of the controls the mayor and I put in place was a way to really see what we have when the insurance starts to come in. That's really important. I know all of you have dealt with insurance companies right now, and you don't always get what you ask for from an insurance company the first time around, right? But somewhere along the way, you may get recoup some of that money. So the city has a policy, roughly about $23.2 million is our policy. That's our limit. The insurance company sent to us undisputed amount. They said, we know you have this many damages, this much damage. We're going to send you this amount. They sent about $850,000 at the beginning of the year, around January or February, and that money went into general fund. But we know it's very important to track insurance money or it will be gone very quickly. So you have to put it in a separate account. So when the city starts to rebuild, we know what we're doing with our money, and you know what we're doing with this money. And so we do have it in a separate account. But a couple of caveats. We had to pay deductible, and then we had to be withheld about 1.7 million of that. When we start to repair buildings, then we can send in those receipts and those invoices where we repaired those buildings, and we will be able to recoup some of this $1.7 million. But we cannot recoup that until we start to repair buildings and show them in good faith that we are rebuilding the city. So basically, total payment of what they sent us was 5.8 million and some change, but in the insurance fund right now is a little bit of about $5 million is what we have in there. When we receive reimbursements from FEMA, our whole goal, let me just go back and tell you why I'm saying what I'm saying. When we receive reimbursements from FEMA, we like to make sure that those haulers are paid. We have to do that because we're going to need them. We're going to need them to clean out our ditches. We're going to need them to clean out our waterways. So we have to continue to pay them. When we are reimbursed, we pay our haulers. And that's going to be very important in this process. But also, we can't expend all of our reimbursable money. We have to set a little bit to the side. It's kind of for a rainy day. So that's one of the things that's very important. When we get a little money, we pay, and then we set a little bit to the side. The best way to make sure that you don't spend that money is to put it into account that cannot commingle with other monies. And that way you know what you're saving, because we have to be in a savings mode right now. There are things we must do, but then there are things that we have to think about before we do them again. So other funding. If you look back a couple of months, we had our consultant, Jay Moody, that came and talked to the commission and the residents about some securing bonds. And we want to do that. We're very close. One of the things that's holding us up from securing these bonds is our audit. And once we have that, we can close on these. It's $30 million, and they're called taxable bonds. Taxable bonds can be used to pay debris haulers, PPDR, waterways, ditches, all of those kinds of projects. But when we do tax exempt bonds, this is where we get into the rebuild of the city. We take some of this money and we put it into rebuilding the city and its buildings and ballparks and places that we know need our very best attention right away. The last funding source that we took was the line of credit. We just did that a couple of meetings ago. We wanted to get ahead of paying our haulers and letting them know how much that we appreciated them. Because when you have cash, it's great to have cash, but you can't expend all of your cash by paying out every bill. So you have to put some back. So a great way to make sure that the haulers were paid and we still had money was that we established a $5 million line of credit, and we took out about $2.3 million to pay them. Now, when we received the 4.9, we again went and paid our haulers a little bit of money, and then we put some back. This is the way the city will continue to operate. We know that it's going to be hard these next couple of months in terms of how we spend, what we do with the money that comes in. But I can guarantee you that we are going to do things right. And we're going to make sure that you as citizens, I am transparent. I want to always be transparent with you, and you'll know exactly what we do here. That is my presentation. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to call me, come by and see me. I want you to spend your time today not listening to me, but talking about how you want to rebuild City Hall and how you want your city to look in years down the road, because it's going to be great. Believe me when I say that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And I see a green card up in the air, so he liked that very much. So we have our first speaker, but before you come up, if you could give me just one moment, sir, okay? If you could just give me one moment. If could I ask you to be seated right there just for a second? I promise I'll let you have the microphone right back. Thank you so much. Thank you. I wanted to recognize and welcome our Lynn Havens County Commissioner, Tommy Ham. Commissioner Ham came in. I saw him earlier. I want to thank you for being here this evening. And so he's back there, so you can also speak with him. Where are you, Commissioner Ham? There he is, back on the back row. This presentation, I'm going to ask that we get it, the PowerPoint up onto our city website. I saw several of you trying to take some notes, and that way it'll save you the expense of having to go and ask for copies or public records requests. We'll just get that up on the website, and then you can print it out yourself or just look at it online. And hopefully that will make things easier, because I know I frequently look at those figures just to try to refresh everything in my mind. The thing that I feel the best about this evening, because we've been working with this since October the 11th, is that up until 2 weeks ago when we did the line of credit for $5 million, Lynn Haven has not borrowed any money since the storm. So I feel very good about how this staff has worked for reimbursement, and all of the money that you see up on the screen that we're getting reimbursed for, that has had to be carefully documented, every dollar, every penny of it, how it's been spent, and your city staff has worked very hard to make sure that that happens. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. So just to refresh you about the green and the red card, this is our lack of technology in this meeting room. We'll hopefully upgrade as we move into new buildings and all. But as speakers are speaking, if you agree with them and you like their ideas, you can hold up the green card. If you're thinking in another direction, you can hold up the red. You're not required to do that, but that gives us an idea of what everybody in the room is thinking, and it helps you to see what other people are thinking too. So let's get started. I didn't mean to make you sit down. And if you'll just identify yourself and tell us what you think.
So my name is Ted Roberts.
I don't think that microphone's on.
My name is Ted Roberts.
Thank you.
And so I agree that the great building that is to be built should be in the same company as the other buildings in town.
In other words, the same location? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Nope.
it's
Nope.
not the
Same
same
look?
location. It's the same. It's the same style.
Okay.
So I wanted to be in the same style, and the second thing that I have to ask is when will Colorado Avenue be rebuilt, because it's bad, and so it's not as bad as other things, but it's bad, and so
That project is in process. It is in process right now.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, and so I appreciate that. And so the other question is just the I want the big building that's to be built, the 3-story building, to be in the same same company, same strategy, same I don't know what it is, but
The look, the Art Deco, the old Florida
yes,
Spanish. That's
yes,
what, okay.
yes, I do want that,
Okay.
and so that's all I have to say.
And we thank you very much. And also I would like to remind everyone, I know I was answering his question, but if you'll address the entire commission, but if there's some commissioner that you would like to ask a question of, as long as they're willing to answer, you can certainly do that as well. Thank you.
I am answering the entire commission because I do have a requirement. It's not a requirement, but it's a request that the whole style of the commission building be in the commission.
Thank you very much.
So thank
We appreciate
you
you
very
being
much.
here. Thank you.
I'm going to leave now.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming. Yes, Mr. Walker.
Good evening, Rich Walker. In 1911,
If you would adjust the microphone, because this
Sure.
is going out to the public
Sure,
recorded,
okay.
so.
in 1911, when this city was laid down, okay, it was laid down with City Hall and everything right in the center. What's happened over the years is residential's built around it. We have our park there, we have the City Hall, everything's there. Worked fine. We have growth. Now with 389 being enlarged, 390 being enlarged, and possibly 77 being enlarged, and possibly 231, the growth is becoming almost unbearable at this time. And the damage. You have insurance money. You have money to do things, to do it right. One of the things you observe is you put your schools right in the middle and the residential. They have no room for growth. City Hall has no room for growth. You have a function at the park and everybody's parking in the residential's driveways. So how about this? Move it. I don't care about the structure. I don't care about that. That's pretty. It's fine. It's one of the architectural designs of this city. Move it. Can you get the land? I proposed this to Mr. White. Mr. White said it would cost too much to get the land. I just heard somebody tell me they'll give you the land. I also heard somebody say, move the city to a place where you can grow with the city, have ample parking. You have the money. You have probably the property. Let's build it better for the future and build it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Jerry Parker of Rat Place. I don't know if this is in the building plans or not, but I think there should be an elevator. We have an aging
That would be a
population.
requirement.
Okay, just wanted to mention.
Sure. Yes, go ahead. No, just go ahead. Everybody has plenty of time. There's no constraints.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I came in late. Excuse me for being late. I didn't have a lot of time to walk around and look at the posters, but right away, when I looked to my left and saw the City Hall, the new City Hall 3-story, I don't like it. The architecture, yes, it's becoming. I don't like the 3 stories. I think it is so very overpowering for our city to be 3 stories high. The old City Hall is 2 stories. The church, what we call the City Hall Annex, looked 2 stories because of the way that the building was shaped at the roof line. But this is just too overpowering to me for our town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And saw some people behind you holding up green, one red, several greens. Okay. Would anyone else like to address the commission or to say anything about the building? Nothing? Anyone else? Yes, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Ben Jenke. I'm the CRA director for the city of Lynn Haven. I'd like to make a comment about the location of the, let's call it the new city hall. I think it would look really nice if this building could actually be moved over to this corner lot on 9th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. And with that, you're really suddenly creating a town square that could be an extension of Sheffield Park, that could provide a lot of opportunities to maybe host bigger events, to use it really as a public place where people can gather. So I'm not saying that this town square should be used as a parking lot. The town square should be resident friendly and not vehicle friendly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see lots of green cards. And to kind of build on what he was just saying, there was a lot of talk in the beginning as they were talking about the relocation. The property that they were looking at south of town had a $3 million price tag on it. It was sort of across from the sheriff's office is why that was sort of, and then people that would talk to us during those months were talking how they would love to have it in the walking area there. They were talking about paving stones that you could buy with your family's name on it, that you survived, maybe a fountain out there, all kinds of things like that. So it kind of goes along with what Ben said. Next.
Arlene Harrison. No, I wish I'd asked my question before he
ahead.
got up, because my question is there a height restriction in the CRA district? Or isn't, it seems like I don't see anything higher than 2 stories. That was my question.
And I'm not aware of an ordinance about a height restriction. We do have a lot of ordinances. I would defer to attorney, but I'm not aware of any. I did have several people call me who told me they thought the building was beautiful, but because of the wind damage that happened to so many of the, especially the churches that were taller and all, they were saying that they thought we'd be safer if we stayed at 2 stories, that kind of thing. But I don't know of any restrictions in our ordinances that I'm aware of. Anyone else? Good evening, sir.
Evening, ma'am. My name is George Hines, 1603 Rhode Island Avenue. This building, proposed building, we just got hit with a Cat 5 9 months ago. Is that building gonna stand a Cat 5? There's a lot of glass showing on the window. And I don't know if they're gonna have shelters built for it, shelters built for the windows, protect them, or what, because that's gonna cause a lot of damage if that building falls. New or old, they do fall in hurricanes. So I wonder if anybody thought about that and the architect that did the sketch, what he planned for all that for the future.
And one of the requirements in the rebuild is that whatever we design does have to be sustainable with all the new standards in Florida. And the architect who drew this does a lot of the architectural drawings for beach hotels and that kind of thing. And so that was one of the things that I asked as well. And he was talking sort of in terms of what you were about the glass being on a certain side of the building, maybe the shutters to go with it, that kind of thing. So it's just, again, it's just a drawing. It's not a final engineering deal, but
Okay.
very good point.
My next comment is the center of the city. Mr. Walker talked about 1911. It's not 1911 anymore. So the city center is moving, because if we annex Southport or we annex some other area, it's going to be a larger city. We're going to need another place to call the city of the city. Walking for him is closer because he lives right over there. Plus, walking from somebody who live out by the old airport, part of the neighbor, they can't get to the center of the city as quick as he can. So we need to think about everybody that's not here. I'm displaced in the Fort Walton right now. I'm in Sandestin right now, and I've been there for 9 months. A lot of our citizens are not here to speak for this thing.
Sure.
So we need to think about everyone in the city, not just a secluded part of the city.
Do you have an idea about where, if you could just use a magic wand, where would you put it?
I don't know. Like I said, we annex Southport is going to change everything, which we need to try to do.
And Southport may have something to say about that.
I know. I said you. So I can't claim a city of the city right now. That's what I'm saying. So we need to look at the future, not look at the present always.
I agree.
That's
with
one
you,
of Bay
sir.
County's problem. We are looking at right now, still looking at the future.
Sure.
That's why the county's condition is in now. That's all I got to say.
Thank you so much. And we do hope that a lot of the people who are displaced and not able to be here tonight are watching online and sending us comments as they're watching. We've tried to publicize it and tell people to participate with us that way. Yes, someone in the back. The reason we're asking you to come up to the microphone is so that people who are listening, or there we go, you can do it from back there, so people can hear you.
Lyle Burton, 917 Pennsylvania. All I ask, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I've heard $6 million for the ball field over there, the baseball field. All I ask is that we have a great police department. We have a lot of seniors. They're our history. They're our city. And all I ask is that y'all, I don't know what the, I don't know the when and where or what y'all are going to build, but all I ask is that before you spend $6 million on a baseball field, we need a police department, because the portable buildings look like something you see over in Springfield or Millville. This is Lynn Haven. So we need a police department for our officers. We need a senior center, and we need a library. And that's all I ask. Before y'all build any baseball fields, that's what we need first. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So Jonathan Davis, 1401 Main. So we as people can get frustrated and things can overtake us. And so we talk about supporting our children and the future of our community. There's enough stressors that our police department and our city workers have to deal with day to day. And if we don't take care of those folks, we're not going to have people that take care of us. Is that who wants a police department that doesn't consider us or think everything's an emergency? We want our folks to come out and support us whenever we call. And if we don't take care of them now, they may not come when you need them. And so we have a really great police department now, and we have really great city workers. So this is our time to make good on that and support our folks.
Appreciate your comments, sir. Anyone else?
Good evening. Sharon Sheffield, right here in Lynn Haven all of my life. Anyone who knows me know that I have a passion for children and older folk. And I think that should be where everyone is concerned. But I stood to ask you to think about the children in this instance. We all know that if you worked in the school system, you worked at church with children, when they have something to do and somewhere to go, the crime rate is not as bad. My daughter told me on yesterday or the day before, Mama, make sure you lock your car because somebody's breaking in, and the average person would think it was a young person doing that. It's not necessarily so that they are the ones. But if we neglect to do what we have to do for children, because they are our future, then we're all going to suffer. And we don't want that to happen. Don't exclude the children, because not only do they need us, but we need them too. Because where you're sitting, where I'm standing, a young person is going to take our places, and we want to raise them in a city that has always looked out for our children. I thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Sheffield. This is former Mayor Sheffield. Appreciate you being here at the meeting tonight. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up.
I'm Bob Schultz. I just want to know, has the police department had any say in designing this building? Are they in favor of being on the ground floor?
Actually, I had this conversation with our police chief yesterday, and asked him several options to make sure, you know, that he is at a conference this week, and I wanted to make sure that he was represented. I can actually offer any of the policemen who are here if they'd like to speak to that point. But he was in favor of them being on the ground floor. He felt that by the police department being there, they could protect the people above them, the entrance ways, and also have easy access in and out of the building. So that's where he was with that. Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. To go along with Ms. Sheffield, I just want to point this out. You know, we had
I don't
the.
think it's on, Brandon.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Perfect. I switched from Verizon to T-Mobile, by the way. Also, sorry, I got off course there. So we had the Florida League of Cities meeting, the quarterly meeting last week, and the guest speaker was Bill Husbelt, the superintendent of our schools. And there wasn't a lot of people in the meeting, so I wanted to make sure that you guys understand kind of there's a crisis going on, and I'm sure the police department here in Lynn Haven can speak to this. There's a crisis going on in Bay County with our children. Mr. Husbelt was telling me about how there's fourth graders trying to kill themselves, literally cutting their wrist because their situation's so bad. You know, I agree with Ms. Sheffield. I love everybody in this room. We all have a purpose that God's given us, but we cannot forget the children. And we can do it correctly. We can do it right. We can do it without, you know, spending all of the money that we have and all this stuff. We don't have to do that. We can make votes and change anything we want to make it a compromise, to make us happy. But I agree. We can't leave the elderly people out. I also had a meeting with the seniors last week. Can't leave them out. Can't leave the young people out. All of us that are able to get up and go and make our own decisions still and have the freedoms that a lot of people don't, children and elderly people, we got to stand for both. We have to stand for both. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Antonio Bellamy. I'm at 604 Hummingbird Street.
Hello.
Been there for the last 25 years. Raised my sons here in Lynn Haven. And my concern is about the kids also, about the parks. We go and we play basketball at the parks. We've raised our kids there. Lynn Haven's been a great area to raise a family. My boys get on the bicycle and ride to the park, and I'm not worried about you know, over policing or too much crime or anything. We was at the park a couple of weeks ago, which we go every Sunday and Saturday and play basketball. Just a great way to release stress, great way to keep in shape. And we had someone to tell us that we was going to bring some lights up there to King Griffin, and we still haven't got lights up there. But you know, we play into dark. Sometimes we put on the car lights and play. But I definitely want to see the parks and stuff have more attention, and that just keep the kids busy. I tell my boys, they clean the house in the daytime, they cut the grass, and I say, hey, get out and go to the park. And they go to the park, and then at 8, 9 o'clock, they come home and eat dinner, and they go to bed. They don't have enough energy to really roam at night. But if you don't give them an outlet, and they sleep all day and play video games all day, guess what? While we sleep at 10, 11 o'clock, they out there up to no good. So we got to have something to keep the kids busy and to keep them engaged. Thank you.
I thank you, sir, and thank you for coming and making those comments. I would, if you would allow me, at the last meeting, I did make several comments about, if you recall, right after the storm, all the parks in the city of Lynn Haven were under contract from a 2013 contract, and they took debris into all of our parks. And so in 8 short months, we've cleared those parks. I was probably more heartbroken than anyone, because when I came in as the mayor in 2015, the parks were my focus. And during that time, we built the splash pads, we rebuilt Porter Park, we put the dog park and all the different things for the children. And right after the storm, Lynn Haven's park became a beacon to the entire county. We had Halloween for our kids. We had 7,000 children in Sheffield Park during Halloween. Right after that, we had Thanksgiving. Right after that, we had 40,000 Christmas gifts given out in our park. So I want people in Lynn Haven to feel proud of the fact that we have taken care of not only Lynn Haven's children, but we invited all the areas of the county to come and be part of the different celebrations that we had. There's still no lights at Kensall Park either. The walking bridge doesn't have lights, and all of that is going to be repaired. But keep in mind that we've made so much progress in 8 months just in 8 months' time, look where we've come from that day after the storm. And we're going to continue. So don't be dismayed. Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Come on up. Or stay right there. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Libby Tennell. I live at 711C Florida Avenue. I moved into apartment just before the storm. Thank the Lord for that. But I want to tell y'all, I'm not upset about spending money for the children, but we do not need to spend $6.5 million on the children. We're not a big city. We need to keep it low right now. When we grow bigger, we can spend more money on it.
Thank you, Ms. Tennell. And I think we're going to have a lot more conversations about what we can do, and I think it's going to all be fine. Is there anyone else? Yes.
Real quick, for him, we're putting lights up
Thursday night, lights at Kane Griffin. That is David Horton, by the way, our community services director, and he has done a fabulous, fabulous job since the storm, keeping the parks going. Thank you.
It's going to be portable. It's not going to be so we're going to have to keep an eye out for that area so that people don't mess with the generators.
That's fabulous.
For the basketball tournament.
There we go. Anyone else? You're welcome to stand in place if you don't want to come forward.
Jonathan Davis.
Sure.
1401. We talk a lot about sports, and that's great. We have about 40% of our population is children and under 18, and about 40% participate in sports. So I think that we can fix those avenues for sports, but we also have a large population that's growing for technology and arts. And you see a lot of kids that are out there, they want to be YouTube stars and they want to produce music and things like that. What about an idea of a technology and art center where we can promote intelligence as well, so that when those members come back, that they're successful? And that's another avenue to get out of the house, but we also communicate technology and innovation through arts.
And you would be happy to know that when our City of Lynn Haven Hurricane Relief Fund was our corporation, our nonprofit was established, we left a provision in that relief fund that after we get past the recovery and rebuilding from the storm, that we could convert that fund over to do those sorts of things. And I'm happy to say that at this point in time, we've collected $167,000 and given every penny of that out to residents who needed it. And we're still working to get more. So I still have faith that that's going to, build into millions of dollars before it's all over with. So have faith and take heart in that. Anyone else?
May I ask you?
Go ahead.
May I ask again? Who all, green or red cards, who agrees? Because I also feel the same way about the aesthetics of our buildings, kind of having an ordinance to where the buildings built along major corridors have to have a certain style or look to them. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I know when I go to other towns, when you walk it, let's say you go into North Georgia, you go into a town where everything looks log cabinish and everything looks woodsy with bears everywhere. Everybody, it's neat.
I wish they'd done that 25 years ago before 77 became what it is.
But just some sort of uniformity, I guess.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
Looks like all green to me. And a couple of reds. And one of the things that we looked at a couple of years ago was the branding of the city. And I'm sure you noticed all the signs are the same. All the signs have the architectural design of the old city hall, and people were saying the colors and the lighthouses at either end. So I think we were already headed in that direction before the wind took it all down. Anyone else? Yes, Arlene.
I think that is wonderful for all the city buildings and to encourage buildings to be in our style, but I don't think it should be mandatory. That's why I put that up.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Are we getting close to the end of comments? And we can move. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. Do any of the commissioners have anything you'd like to say before we move into the commission meeting? Because this is very informal. Commissioner Tender?
Yes, I do. Listening to everybody's ideas about the new city hall and whatnot, my thoughts are probably very different, but I'm all for keeping it simple, keeping it low. Again, I would like to eliminate elevators, and I'd like to see the police department actually be built separately right where they're sitting now in the trailers in that area, even if they go up 2 floors, evidence room and, you know, offices and whatnot downstairs. But to keep City Hall simple, I'd like to see it all on 1 floor and a safe room added to it. It would have been nice, I know, for everybody that was stuck there to have one. And again, you can do Spanish style or whatever, but instead of all the windows, yeah, obviously you have to have light. But I just think of the money, and we could create something where we could add on if we needed to add on. But when an elevator breaks, it's a lot of stairs to climb, and they do break, and they don't come out after 5 to fix them. So again, being able to have access to what's going on there, I think is very, very important. But that's just my feeling.
So show of green or red cards for Commissioner Tender? I think you have some support for that. Anyone else?
Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner Russell.
I know that most of y'all know that the mayor and I rode out the storm in the old city hall. So without a doubt, my number one concern with City Hall is to make sure that we have a secure location for first responders to come back to. That building collapsed on us, and I watched the police and fire department, along with us, go room to room until we finally ended up in the room that held up. So that's my number one priority in rebuilding City Hall and rebuilding the fire department, is because when they come in, they have to have a place they know they're secure. That's all I've got on that, Mayor.
Thank you, and I would concur. And not only, you know, when they come in, but to be able to stay within the city. That was one of the things that we talked about in the beginning. Was the police, fire, nor myself, nor the commissioner, we didn't want to go across the bridge to the EOC. We wanted to stay in town with our residents so that we would be available. And I still don't regret that we did that. But who would have known that a solid reinforced concrete building was going to be pummeled with, I think, 170 miles an hour winds for almost 5 hours. And there are even estimates of 220 mile per hour gusts. So who was expecting that? And the grace of God was with all of us, right? We all survived. So there we are. Anyone else? Commissioner Perno, did you have anything? Before we move on? Okay, well, we did that like in 1 hour and 6 minutes, and we're all still friends, and it's amazing. So we'll be doing this some more. How did you feel about the cards? I kind of like the way they worked. And so we're about to go. There we go. I like that. So we're about to go into the commission meeting now. And if you don't mind, since we've already had the prayer and invocation for the sake of expediency, I will just move ahead and we'll start down the agenda. You are welcome to stay for this meeting. We hope that you will. And I'll remind you as we move through the agenda that in Lynn Haven, our meetings are a little different. We do have a public commentary portion on item number 7 when you can talk about anything of interest to you or that you want to talk about to the commission. But then as we go item by item, you'll also have an opportunity to talk about anything you want on each item as well. If you want to hold on to the cards, they can use them in the commission meeting as well. I think that'll be helpful to us. Yep, that'll be great. That'll be wonderful. Okay, so we'll start with the mayor's report. And I've had a busy couple of weeks. I met with the Compassionate Friends of Bay County, and I'll be talking to you more about that when we get to that item on the agenda. I met with our city manager several times and our consultants, Tetra Tech, about our finances. We do have a TPO meeting tomorrow, which is our transportation meeting downtown. It's at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon at the Bay County Commission meeting room, if any of you are interested in hearing the updates on all the things going on with Florida Department of Transportation and roadways in our area, because we certainly are in the crosshairs of that right now if you've been on 390 lately, so you might want to come and hear that meeting. I have a meeting scheduled tomorrow at noon with Sean Adams, and I found it to be a fascinating meeting. He is speaking to me on behalf of many of the disabled of Bay County to talk with me about some ideas of helping him push forward a transportation system of wheelchair accessible cabs and that kind of thing for Bay County. He wrote me a very detailed letter, and my technology is failing me right now, and I can't make it come up on my phone. I tried a little earlier, but I will bring that to you at the next meeting and talk to you about what Sean and I discussed tomorrow. And I think it's going to be a fascinating discussion. And the reason he came to me with it, I think, is because I was the big push for Uber in Bay County. And so he feels like that maybe we could all be a voice here for them as well, for those who are having. And if you've seen wheelchairs crossing the roads and cringe like I do, then I agree with him, because people are trying to get places and they don't have accessible cabs to do it. I'll let you know that tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, there is a community services board meeting. They'll be meeting, and it is open to the public. I know a lot of you are interested in recreation and what's going on, and so you might want to attend that. I believe it's in the utilities building. Is that correct, David Horton? Yes, where the water tanks are, the utility building conference room is where that will be held tomorrow. That is open to the public. Yesterday, there was a CRA advisory board meeting scheduled. There was not a quorum for that meeting, and there has been some difficulty. People are displaced. Some of the board's people have decided not to serve, and so there are going to be opportunities for those of you who are interested in being involved to join some of these boards by just filling out an application. I conferred several times with our city attorney, God bless him, about statutes I needed to know about. I've attended a 4th of July meeting. I want to let you know we're going to have a fabulous 4th of July parade and fireworks and everything we've always had. Want to thank James Finch one more time for a $20,000 donation for fireworks, and I want to thank all the community services workers for all the extra hours they're putting in, and all the other employees. I'm sorry, I'm hurrying. I went to the grand opening of our tax office, which opened last week again in Lynn Haven, so you have a place to go now without having to go down to 11th Street again. I attended a hurricane preparedness meeting with all of our city department heads and our acting city manager, Vicki Gaynor. We talked about what we thought we did well after the storm, things we thought we could have done better, things that we hope to do in the future. And it was a very productive meeting. We'll be sharing those results with the public at some point very soon, because we are in hurricane season right now. I did appear on a television show at Gulf Coast Community College with Jerry Tabbitt during the military hour to talk about hurricane preparedness and some ideas of mine. And I'll be attending the grand opening of our Lynn Haven Beauty Salon on Florida Avenue Saturday at 10 o'clock. And I know they'd love to see all of you there cheering, because you know how it is, ladies. You saw me after 14 days when I was still in a ball cap and met the president and had to stand next to Melania with my ball cap on. So we all love it when the beauty shops are open, right? And that's all that I have, other than just one more time to say how grateful I am to the city employees for all that they're doing to bring us back to where we were, and in particular, Vicki Gaynor, who has really stepped up to the plate at this time, a very difficult time in our history. So with that, I'll go over to Commissioner Tender for Commissioner Tender's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I've just been doing the usual, getting calls, fielding those calls, trying to get results for the residents. Everything from sewage, I can't even explain. It's just every issue there is to that could happen is happening, and that's basically what I've done the last couple of weeks, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Just keeping up with phone calls and emails is a full-time commissioner job for sure. Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Mayor. I too have been dealing with phone calls as usual. In particular, again, building department issues with a house on New Jersey and another house on Tennessee. And I got to say that I've been impressed with Mike Gordon and Ms. Richards in the building department. Every time I've asked them a question, they've got me the response, and they responded rather quickly to take care of the issue. So as reserved as I was about hiring another contractor originally, I have to say that I think he's doing a great job so far. I have also had several meetings with Vicki, either by phone or in person, as well as the city manager, city engineer, and just looking forward to the growth. I look forward to us moving forward and getting the city rebuilt. Thank you, Mayor.
It is an exciting time. Commissioner Aldridge?
Thank you. Yeah, same problems with phone calls, dealing with permitting issues or flood zone issues, or all the good stuff we all get to deal with in our own homes. Taking care of that. Let's see, we had a meeting with the seniors last week. I went to on Thursday at Golden Corral. It's for the Lynn Haven seniors. If you guys aren't a part of that group, I implore you to go. I had a great time. I really did. I'm going to start going to the group almost every month if I can make it, because I truly do enjoy it. And I think it's a great group of people. We also had Saturday the Women's Suffrage 100-year memorial. I got to read a proclamation for that. Mayor Greg Bernicki from Panama City was supposed to do it, but he had to go to another function, and asked if I would proxy for him. I said, absolutely. And I said, only under one condition. I get to throw Lynn Haven in there too. Not just Panama City, but Lynn Haven also is all about 100 years for women's suffrage. So it was a deal, and it was a good day. It was very, very hot, but a great day. Other than that, just fighting hard every day for you guys. Thank you.
And when you were speaking of the senior citizens, I saw Eugenia Stetvenko back in the back, who is our director for the Senior Citizens Center, which will be reopening before you know it. And she has gone to great lengths to make sure that there have been activities and trying to keep everybody together. And you've done a marvelous job. Thank you so much. Would you like to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to let everybody know that we're actually having a walk in Sheffield Park tomorrow. It's just a simple walk at 8:30 in the morning. We meet up and we just do some exercise. So every senior is invited in Lynn Haven and beyond. So please join us, 8:30 at Sharon Sheffield Park.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Perno?
Hi. I attended the I guess pinning or induction ceremony for 3 of our firefighters and our and 2 of our policemen, I believe it was, or was it 3 and 2? But I was deeply moved by the fact that our mayor spoke, and she brings really a light to the table when she's addressing the city employees, and our city manager, Ms. Gaynor, spoke also. And the words family were used quite a bit about our people. And it was very impressive to see the families of the police officers and get up, and the engagement from Chief DeLange and Ricky Ramey, and just that gathering was very moving. A couple of days later, I attended the hamburger hot dog cook-off for and to help Sergeant Jim Smith's family, and that was in the same regard. That was also a moving experience. When you talk about family, I mean, we all sat at the table that Friday at the installation of the officers, and it was great. But Saturday, when I sat with my daughter at the dinner table, she read Facebook comments to me from another commissioner, and I didn't really appreciate it. But we'll get through it. I'm not a politician. I've got tough skin, but I think we should settle things here at this table and not get on Facebook and talk about things. That's all I have to say, and I appreciate y'all. I'll be working hard for you.
Thank you for your report. Moving on to item number 5, which is our acting city manager's report, and that's Vicki Gaynor.
Thank you, Mayor. So last week, these past couple of weeks, we've been meeting a lot with our city consultants, with FEMA officials, with our commissioners, our mayor, but vendors, and a lot of taking care of the business of the city. One thing, and Mayor mentioned this about the staff meeting, we have met and we put together a hurricane preparedness event. We feel like it's really, really important. And one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to allow the citizens to actually come and get bags to fill their bags with sand to be prepared. Because you know how it goes when we hear that there's a storm coming. We set up and there's a line a mile long. And so we want to be proactive every way we can for hurricane preparedness this year. So we want to do that. We want to sign you up for Bay Alert. We want to do some things that will put you in the driver's seat this year. And so that day, we kind of looked at July 20th. I think that's the day that we have as our day of, we're going to do shots for our pets and hurricane preparedness all out in Sheffield Park. I hope you'll come out. I think it's going to be a great day. We're still doing some preliminary planning, but I think it's going to be really great once we get the word out and tell you. We're looking at probably about 9 o'clock start time, and go until we can help no more citizens that day. July 4th is near, and I will tell you that staff and all of us have been planning for July 4th for now 2 months, 3 months. We can't keep up with it. But it is a large event, but it's an event that's absolutely one of the treasures of the city of Lynn Haven. And so we'll have 8:30, we'll do prayer at the polls, and 9 o'clock the parade will start, and we'll have activities over in Sheffield Park. And about 1 o'clock we'll wrap that up, and then we'll come back to Kensall Park, where we'll have some activities and vendors there, and then fireworks will kick off at 9 o'clock. We hope to see every single one of you there. Met with, again, mayors and commissioners, and we are working now on the 1920 budget. It's budget season, and meeting with all the department heads, trying to put together budgets to present in the next month or so. And I also attended Family and Friends Banquet with Bethesda Baptist Church. It was really, really a nice event, and thank you for inviting me. They are meeting I think in Mowat Middle School right now, but thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of that. And that's my.
Thank you so much. And then I'll move on to item number 6, which is the city attorney's report.
No report at this time, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 7 is public commentary. I know we just had a public workshop, but this is the commission meeting. If there's something you'd like to address the commission about that's not on the agenda, or if it is on the agenda, you're certainly welcome at this time to approach the podium. Microphone, rather. Go ahead.
Lyle Burton, 917. Oh, it's all you.
And you're next. Go ahead, Miss Arlene.
I probably should have waited because I was trying to collect my thoughts, but excuse me. At the last city commission, I was very disappointed in the commissioners. My understanding of a representative form of government is that there are 3 branches of government all with equal power, and those who are elected are representatives of the people. And presumably they're going to go forward and they're going to determine what their electorate wants, and then they're going to go forward and vote the way their electorate wants. Whether they actually feel that way themselves or not, they vote what their electorate wants, and their citizens. And at the last city meeting, I am all for children, but I think that we already had a plan in place with FEMA with covering the whole city as a whole, at which point all the citizens could have an input in moving this city forward. And I found it appalling that 3 seated commissioners voted against the citizens having input into their city in that $6.1 million taxpayer dollars for a professional size ball field. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, sir.
Sorry. Lyle Burton, 917 Pennsylvania. Hate to nitpick because it's such a love fest today, but
Democracy is messy. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, yeah. So we face the stage at Sheffield Park. It's, that park is almost as beautiful as its namesake. But here lately, we've had a lot of homeless, my wife says, excuse me, a few transients. I need to know what the city's policy is. I need to know if I'm supposed to call the police, if I'm supposed to call the city, the mayor's, I don't know, because for the last month, we've had a female with 2 children, school-age children. We fed them. We gave them $100. When I mentioned the job, she took off, which was great. But, you know, that's a concern. You know, when we bought that house, we thought it was the most beautiful place in the world. You know, that's my life savings over there. And it makes me sick. It makes my wife sick. She calls me during the day. There's homeless people. Today, there was a homeless couple over there laying on the concrete, making out. I mean, that's something we moved away from Dallas, Texas to, you know, get away from. And it makes us sick. So I just need to know what I'm supposed to do, you know, as a taxpayer, as a homeowner, looking across the street and seeing that.
We hope you won't see that again, but if you do, make a phone call to the police department, and I'm
Okay.
sure you'll get immediate action. But if you don't, my phone number is listed as well, sir.
I hate to waste the police time, but, you know, it's just,
Well,
it's a
we
concern,
don't,
so.
we've got children playing in the park.
Correct.
And there are a lot of people right now who are homeless, who need help, but we will assist them in the proper way. And I'm sure our police department's done an outstanding job, and I'm sure that they will take care of that problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Can I have one more thing?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
The property, 915 Pennsylvania, is right next door to me. I'm pretty sure y'all own it now. That's just what I've heard and been told. The grass is probably knee high. I'm mowing a 3-foot stretch from my fence to that property just to keep the rats that we've been seeing cut across. You know, I'll probably get arrested for shooting my pellet gun at them, but they're pretty big. They're as big as possums. And so I would ask if maybe y'all get somebody over there mow it. I'll mow it.
That causes me great distress as well, sir. Thank you very much. And I mentioned our mowing issues at the last commission meeting, so
Okay, great.
we will get on that as well.
One more.
One more time.
I'm sorry.
Is this a happy thing? Or
My wife
I'm
has
just
an
kidding. Go
agenda
ahead.
here. Sorry. It rained all last week or whatever, and
Yes.
the sprinklers were going to town over there at the park all day. And y'all were talking on Facebook about water shortage of some sort. I don't know, but seeing when we get, you know, 15 inches of rain and those sprinklers are going to town, and I pay a $200 water bill because I use a lot of water, makes me sick to see those things. just
Somebody
going.
didn't turn the timer off.
Yeah, and they finally got around to it. Somebody called somebody, and it finally, you know, but yeah, so that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if it'll make you feel any better, the last time that somebody turned the timer off, then they forgot to turn it back on. And I noticed on the 6th day that the grass was turning brown. And, you know, so we'll get all those issues ironed out. We're shorthanded and a lot of things going on, but we appreciate you coming and pointing those out, and keep on. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
Hi there. I'm Arthur Cullen. I live in the city of Panama City, but I just wanted to stand up and make 2 comments if I can.
We will allow you to do that. Go ahead,
Thank
sir.
you very much. It's not like the other side of the bridge. But I wanted to say that I came Saturday to the fundraiser that the commissioner referred to, and I want to commend your police department.
Thank you.
Chief Ramey and Mr. Willoughby really did a great job, and they raised over $9,000 for that family in one day. And I think they did a superb job and deserve a round of applause.
Lieutenant Willoughby, would you please stand on behalf of the police department? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, on another note, Commissioner Perno referred to this in his comments, and I don't speak up like this very often, but I also got the screenshots of the Facebook messages that were put on Facebook on Saturday evening. And I'll just say this, you all 5 were elected by the citizens of Lynn Haven, and you carry yourselves very well, and you represent the citizens here. To attack each other personally on Facebook, I believe, is beneath the office of commissioner. And especially the guys who were just elected, Commissioner Perno and Brandon Aldridge, personally, I know very, very well. Both have outstanding names in this community, and to imply that they would do something in a vote that they thought was best for the city is just wrong, and I think beneath the office of commissioner. And I'd just like to say that, and thank you for your time and hearing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, and I don't even want you to expound upon it. But I will say that in the days of social media, if you follow the President of the United States, even if you're a commissioner, you do have the right to say what you think. And if you're, I have people who attack me on social media all the time. I have people who praise me all the time, and I respond to all of that. And I remember when I first started using Facebook as a mayor, I was taken actually to task before the ethics committee to find out if I was violating the sunshine laws just because I had a Facebook account. We've come a long way since those days, because all the elected officials I know have them now, and they didn't when I became mayor. So social media can be a devastating place. It can be hurtful, but at the same point, it can also be informative. And if you if you've got an opinion and you're going to say it, and all of us ran for office, and even if you win, 50% of the people don't like you most of the time. Only 50% usually plus one. So if you're going to be an elected official, you're going to get your feelings hurt. I've had mine hurt before. But if somebody says something about you, stand up and defend it. Say it's not true, but don't come in here and cry to the mayor about it. Defend yourself. That's how I feel about it. Anybody else? Y'all know me. I'm going to say what I think. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Jonathan Davis again. I'd like to see more code enforcement around.
Me too. Go ahead.
I think citizens have taken advantage of our offices, and there's a lot of condemned buildings and a lot of negligence on people's behalves. If people need assistance, they can request assistance. Let's get people helped. But I live around a community where I know people don't live in these houses, and my concern is health. I see, like the gentleman behind me, a rat concern. I've seen rats. I live in a beautiful house, but now it's being overrun with pests. So if we can have code enforcement step up and take care of these things for us.
I agree with you, sir. I turned in 3 houses on my street this week to code enforcement, and I'm the mayor, I had to do that. I would say to you that there's no excuse for the house that the city owns having vermin on it. So we need to get on top of that. But I will take the blame for a lot of what you're seeing at this point in time, because when I declared an emergency and when I had charge of the city for several weeks, I did say that we would not get on top of people with additional problems for 6 months, that we would give people 6 months to kind of, assess whether they're coming back, trying to get insurance. And I will say, in defense of a lot of people who are now starting to strip out the inside of their houses and the debris being stacked outside, that some people are just now getting the finances to come back to the city. Some people are just now getting their insurance. But at the same point, I agree with you that code enforcement at this point in time, we're going to have to step it up. And another point is that we're waiting on FEMA to do inspections for properties, for the private property debris removal for these homes that people have left and not come back. And so we're working with them. There's just a lot of process. But with all that said, I'm sure that our city manager has heard what you're saying here tonight, and the commission hears it. And I'm sure that the city is going to get on top of it and do as much as we possibly can as quickly as possible.
I praise you. I think that you guys are doing a great job. My concern is the citizens that are paying contractors for debris removal, or should have contractors removing debris. That expense is coming into the city's problem now.
Yes.
Because I see concrete bricks and construction debris being hauled away when these folks need to take accountability.
Yes.
And clean that up. I clean up my own house and my yard, and it's still a work in progress, but if anyone needs help, I'd be more than happy to help as well.
And we've all been devalued with all this debris around anyway, and the 5 or 6 houses on a street that look beautiful don't need to be devalued by 2 or 3 that are standing in ruins, so I get you. We're on your team.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You know me.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'm Libby Tennell. I used to live at 505 Virginia Avenue in the house I was born in.
You are the oldest citizen, are you not?
I'm the oldest person in Lynn Haven. I was born here.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I want y'all to know that.
So we will listen.
I'll be 89 years old in a few more months. But I lived in the house I was born in until I'm sorry. In July, something told me to get out of that house. I think the Lord was talking to me. And I'm sorry, it's still got stuff in the yard, but we can't get our insurance to do anything. They want to total it. But we have 9 contractors. My son, I turned it over to him, Guy Tennell, and he's handling it. And we're trying to get it cleaned up. But what do you do? And I hope the court and whatever it is that gives him a ticket won't give me one.
If they do, call us.
You're my neighbor, Mondo.
I know. You're fine. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Are we still under emergency?
The state of Florida is still under an emergency. The city of Lynn Haven falls within the state. Correct me, city attorney, if I go in the wrong direction. But I started meeting with the city commission within 4 weeks after the storm weekly, and they voted to allow me to continue to function as I was functioning for several weeks after that. And then at some point right before Thanksgiving, I lifted everything as far as an emergency in Lynn Haven except for the curfew, because out of respect for our sheriff who was trying to keep the county under control. So yes. So anyway, we're not under a state of emergency in the city of Lynn Haven other than what the governor of Florida has mandated. Does that help? Okay. Did I do that well, city attorney? Help me if I didn't.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. We're
Okay.
not under a local municipal state of emergency.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, I have another comment about debris removal. Also, it's the contractor's responsibility to remove debris at this time. I know
Yes.
after the hurricane, I know there was a lot of debris put aside by the contractors, and I know that had to be a big chunk of our debris removal. So now we as citizens have to make sure that those contractors take their own stuff away and not let them put it at our driveway side. So that's my one point. The other,
Amen.
The other point I want to make is, and I hate to keep on beating a dead horse, but the $6.1 million for the ball field. We have to show financial responsibility. And if our infrastructure of our city is not there, we're not going to be able to have the parks. And what you have to remember too is this is temporary. This is temporary until, we get things back together. So we have to keep that in mind as well. We're all for the children. I don't think there's any person here that would say they're not for the children, but we've got to show financial responsibility.
And if I may, and I'm sure we're going to get to this further in the meeting, but I would say to you that I did not sign that task order, so it has not gone forward yet. And so that will bring more discussion tonight. So there we are. Any other comments?
My name is Heather Davis. I'm from Main Avenue. My children, I have 3 children. They played baseball at Southport in the spring. They didn't think about the Lynn Haven community leaders not thinking about them. Luckily, we had 4 complexes that were brought back to the ability to play all by volunteers. Has our city talked about having volunteers come out and do ours? Instead of spending the $6 million that's been proposed, just to get it up and running where they do have a place to come out and play. Just a thought.
Thank you. I think I have an, anyone else? Okay.
I'd like to know how much the annual cost of our temporary buildings are and how much it costs to have them outfitted, which they're still continuing to do and trying to get our city government housed. And we still have police giving report out on all weather under a canopy in a field.
The cost of the temporary buildings, correct me, city manager, I believe it's $23,000 per month, and we have those leased for 18 months at this point. Is that correct?
I meant to ask the annual.
I'll have to multiply 23,000 per month times 18. Help me out. 585,000. Thank you. Math was not my strong point in my head. And it is reimbursable. Yes, that is a good point. But I would say again, it is reimbursable, but there is a time limit. You can only have them for so long, and you have to show why you don't have a building to move into. And FEMA is coming to inspect those buildings within the next couple of weeks to make sure that we didn't get too much space and that we're reimbursable for everything. I think we're all in good shape with them, and we're thankful to have them right now. So, anyone else? Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment going back to debris removal and code enforcement.
Yes.
I know that myself, I'm still waiting on my insurance to come through for me. We've done some things like put the roof on.
Sure.
But it's just such a long process. These insurance companies are just dragging everything out. And I do home health nursing, and I just want to put it out there that I've seen people who have been taken advantage of, not to, put somebody in a category, but a lot of older folks. Sometimes they don't know what to do when it comes to the insurance. They might be getting bad advice. So when code enforcement goes out, I hope they're looking at situations that they're in. You might have somebody who's older, or maybe they're just overwhelmed with what's going on, and they don't realize that their contractor's shady, and maybe they've dumped things in the yard, and then they don't know what to do. And so if code enforcement comes down on them like a hammer, that's just making the situation worse. So
We did say several months ago in a meeting that code enforcement, because of this unusual catastrophe that we've been, the third worst storm in recorded history, that code enforcement would be on a case-by-case basis if there are issues when people don't understand or that kind of thing. I can't, right now we've just started really pushing code enforcement at this point in time in Lynn Haven because of that. And anyone, you can spread that word if someone feels they've been treated unfairly or they didn't know or they had some other issues, they can certainly come to the city manager and the city staff, and they're going to handle that. Yes, sir. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Oh, Brad, I see your hand now.
Brad Yunt, 210 Lakeview Terrace. Last fall, I asked about the prospects of elevating the building code in this area, and I was told that it was premature to do so. I'm wondering if now I can raise the issue again. We know we were hit hard. We know the building codes were inadequate. We know the building code needs to be stiffened up. Where's the action?
My understanding is that's a state level to begin with, and then the municipalities can follow suit. Can you help me with that, City Attorney? I don't know that Lynn Haven has the authority. I think that was the answer that I was given at one point, but I would need your help there.
One of the issues that City of Lynn Haven and other municipalities have had to address post-hurricane is the base flood elevation. I believe the Florida Building Code addresses 1 foot above BFE. I would have to defer to Ms. Richards to determine where Lynn Haven is. I don't remember off the top of my head. I know we've done some work. Is Ms. Richards here?
Yes, and this is our city planner, for those of you who have not met Ms. Amanda Richard.
We did have a lot of older properties that did not meet the required base flood elevation, but they were grandfathered in. What's happened since the storm is that FEMA have gone around and done estimates of every single house or property, every single property in the flood zone. And citizens have received letters telling them whether that estimate, what the percentage damage is. And if the estimate is over 50%, then they are required to elevate. When it comes to the actual building codes, which is what I think the gentleman was referring to, South Florida has more stringent building codes than the required general Florida building code. The properties that had been built more recently to the building codes that we require people to build to now did not suffer much damage. If you look at the new CVS building, it didn't suffer much damage at all. And actually, you can pick out the houses or the properties that were built to the newer standard because they're the ones that are standing, and it's the older ones that received most of the damage. Now, we can have more stringent codes if we feel that we are going to suffer more of these strong hurricanes, which, consensus is out there that we will be. Then we can have more stringent codes. We are allowed to do that. In fact, the ordinances that we were required by FEMA to put in place regarding stormwater recently, we do have in those ordinances some stronger rules than other places in Florida, and that was through choice and recommendation. So if you wanted to go stronger, then we could look to see what was done in South Florida and require that. But right now, most of the newer buildings suffered minimal damage.
And my question would be, while we're on this topic, first of all, I think what we've put in place has more to do with water damage. Am I correct with that? Than wind? And
yes.
And if in the middle of this right now, while people are dealing with insurance and trying to get back in their homes, I would have to say that it would be, in my opinion, it would just put additional burdens right now during the recovery. That's my thoughts, but I don't know if that's what everybody else thinks or not. Does that answer your question at all, Mr. Yunt, or is there anyone else on the commission who would like to speak to that? Or
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
I know that when I rebuilt back the business, the insurance would not pay one dime for anything that wasn't already there. You know, to improve, it was an act of God to get paid for the roof because I said, you know, it had to be strapped and things of that nature. So they fight you tooth and nail if you try to upgrade or change anything. So that's something to keep in mind. If somebody doesn't have money other than the insurance, it's going to be hard to do.
And I know that as we go forward with our new municipal buildings, certainly we're going to be looking at, you know, strengthening those. But what I'm thinking of is private property, you know, maybe new homes being built, of course, already have some restrictions on them. But to burden people right now who don't have the money to even repair their homes and tell them they've got to do something additional is my fear with that right now.
What?
Changing the building codes is a long, drawn-out process, but you do have to start it at some point.
And I agree.
That's what I was asking.
And I think that's a legitimate question. Thank you.
One thing to consider, and I think Ben probably knows more about this because he was involved in that FEMA 50% estimate thing, is that for those people that do go above and beyond, their insurance goes way, way, way down. And also when they come to sell that property, it's going to be looked at favorably. And the fire chief just told me that it's Broward County that has the higher standards for building codes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe at some point in the very near future, we could start some sort of workshop and discussion on how we might could go forward. Would the commission be agreeable to that, gentlemen, ladies?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for bringing that up tonight, Brad. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Walker. We're still on item number 7, if anyone's looking.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. In conjunction with what was just said there by Brad and what you discussed there, I enjoy another workshop. We just finished one on stormwater. And one of the recommendations from the Panhandle Engineering expert that was there dealing with that was to change the building codes. And it's ironical because the discussion dealt with the new houses that were being built. You changed the laws to allow them to build double occupancy in the CRA, build them up higher according to code, and you forgot about the people that were there from 1911. So during the hurricane, that thing that was number 5, the new houses caused considerable damage to the old houses. The recommendation from that group was to change the building code, which was changed to build higher to cause the damage to the older houses. Be advised, some of the older houses didn't suffer. It's the newer houses that caused the damage. So maybe when you get your workshop, it would be advantage to take a look at that change of that code, which impacted on the 1911, 1920, and 1940 houses. And that should be in concern. It was in concern with the Panhandle Group. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Another comment? Yes, go ahead, please. Mr. Miller, do you want to speak in place? There's a microphone.
Yeah, I'm Miller, 1508 Mississippi Avenue here in Lynn Haven. A few months back, I approached the commission and I asked them about turn signals on 17th Street and Highway 77. And it was approved way back there. And the other week, Mr. Russell told me that the deal had been killed. Who killed the deal? That's one of my main questions. Because 17th Street and 12th Court need a turn signal like at Mowat Road and Mosley Drive. It is devastating trying to get out of there.
I have a TPO meeting tomorrow, but I'm not aware. Commissioner Russell, you want to speak to that one?
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm not aware of that one.
Mr. Miller, if you remember correctly, I was pushing this with you. I mean, I travel on that road almost daily, and it was explained to me that DOT approved a left-only turn lane, but did not approve the light. That's what it was. That's the way it was explained to me. So yeah, you're gonna have a green light with a left turn only lane, but you're still gonna have to wait for the oncoming traffic to get the open. So my understanding, and maybe the city engineer can correct me if I'm wrong, DOT is the one that said no to the light.
before that, the DOT had approved the changing of the monitors in the box, on the big box there on 77 and 17th Street. They made that say, yes, we'll do it. And then all of a sudden, somebody said, we don't want it, and it got killed.
Chris Forehand, can you add any information to that, or do you have any additional information? That's pretty much, so we will have the TPO meeting tomorrow, and I can bring that up possibly at that meeting, Mr. Miller.
Yes, ma'am. You know, I'm on the TPO council
Yes.
too, and I'm also going to bring it up because they had approved it also too.
So we'll have two of us there asking. That'll be good. Three. Anyone else for item number 7? Yes, sir. If we can expedite.
Just to talk about the traffic signals as well. The signal on 14th to cross 77 is atrocious. To make every effort to go around that. Is there any method that we can lengthen that light so that to allow more traffic to cross?
The signal, where are we talking about?
So it'd be on 14th and 77.
Anything that's on the county and state roads as far as traffic signals, all that we can do is petition FDOT, and that's the road. You know, that's the path. Excuse me, that's the pathway we have to follow. We were approved for a golf cart crossing by FDOT long before the storm in front of City Hall, and we have yet to see those signals as well. Not to slam FDOT, but things seem to be moving at the slow pace of government. That's called shooting yourself in the foot, right? Anyone else? Okay, I think we've come to the end of item number 7. No one else? Moving on to item number 8 then is the consent agenda. And item number 8 is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I do want to point out to everyone that the minutes that were posted for last meeting had an error which has been corrected in the minutes that I believe we have on the table. But the last item on the agenda was item number 13, which was the vote on the task order, listed a unanimous vote rather than having 3 yes and 2 no. That has been corrected, but it was advertised differently. So if you saw the other copy, so I would, I don't think I need a motion to amend since it's already in this tonight and it was corrected after advertised. Is that correct? Okay. All right. So is there a motion to accept the minutes as they are with that one change?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Tender, excuse
Yes.
me, Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and so the minutes are approved. We'll move on to old business. This is item number 9. This is discussion and possible action regarding a revised task order proposal for the construction of Kane Griffin Park facilities. And our acting city manager has this report. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Mayor, we did go back and meet with one of our city engineers, and we also spoke with some of the commissioners, and staff felt like that this was an opportunity for us to come back and make some changes to the task order that was passed last week. So our recommendation is, here's where we are, and here's kind of our vision, is that we can put together Kane Griffin Park to where it is a park that's completely finished. 1 T-ball field, 3 AA fields, making sure that the splash pad is expanded, covering over the playground, all lights, all of the things that are needed to get this field up and running for next spring ball. And then at the same time, really look at the sports complex as a whole, sitting back and maybe even doing a separate workshop on the sports complex, because there are a lot of things that we need to do for that. So staff recommends that we go ahead with Kane Griffin Park, give the kids something to somewhere to go and actually be able to play baseball and softball there. And we hope that this will help with bringing about some collaboration.
I see some green cards. Is there any discussion from the commission on this?
Mayor, if I may.
Certainly, go ahead.
Thank you. You know, I think everybody may have taken my comments at the last commission meeting a little off. To me, the seniors are just as important, without a doubt. And if you go back to my original commission meeting where I talked about this, I talked about pulling the senior center out and doing a separate task order for it too. That was my intention, is to let's get the kids taken care of and let's get the seniors taken care of. Everything else will fall into place. While this isn't the ideal situation for me, because I want to see all the kids taken care of, at least it takes care of the little kids and it takes care of the ladies, or the young ladies. My understanding is, and I understand, I've listened to y'all. I mean, I understand that there's some concerns about the $6 million. That number was an estimate. There was no hard numbers. We've never got any construction costs or anything like that. So that was estimates. But like I said, I've listened to y'all, and it's an equal number. I'm going to tell you now that I've had as many people call me and pat me on the back and say, move forward with this. This is smart. We want to get our kids playing. But I've also had the people call and say, listen, y'all really need to think about spending this kind of money at this time. So with me saying that, I know I'm not allowed to say how I'm going to vote, but I've had many conversations with the city manager about this, and she has gotten my support. So thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, please go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. The first question, of course, is how much would this cost? Number one, did I read it was 2 million plus?
It's up to 2 million.
Up to 2 million. So if it were to go over that, would it come back to the board to vote on it?
Yes, ma'am. There will be phases that they will have to bring back anyway to the board to vote on.
Okay, so phase one.
Engineering.
Okay, so if we voted this through to do Kane Griffin Park only right now.
Yes, ma'am.
It would not, I just want to make sure I understand. It will not go over $2 million without it coming back for this commission's approval. Is that right?
That is correct, but it has to come back to the commission anyway.
Okay.
Are there other comments from the commission?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
I just want to say we're reliving the task order vote from before. My feelings have always been in my heart for kids to get on the ball fields as quick as possible, and with no other intent than to know that kids don't have the coping mechanisms that we do. Kids have been devastated by the storm, as we have. If you ask kids, they've always said they want to get back to playing with their friends. They want to get back to some kind of normalcy as well as we do. So if anything does that for the kids in Lynn Haven, I'm all for it. But just to be sure, my vote last time was just as I understand it, was just explained that there was an engineering fee and there would be phases. It was not a $6 million vote. It was for $239,000 for the engineering fee and the first phase of the project to get the grass on the fields. But that being said, I'm all for getting kids back to playing ball in Lynn Haven.
Thank you, Commissioner Perno. And I was planning on just being silent and letting this move forward because it sounds like a great compromise. But I'm not going to do that because, first of all, I did not sign the task order because it was for $6 million. And I'm telling everybody at this commission table, you need to go back and reread that task order. It did not say for grass and dirt. It did have the engineering fees of 4% on a $6 million project. And Commissioner Russell and two others, you talked about the fact that it would be ready for spring, that it would be completed with lights, with dugouts, with everything else, and it would have cost $6 million. And right now it still stands because nothing has been done to rescind it. And everybody at this table, other than Commissioner Tender and myself, voted for that. So if you think you only voted for dirt and grass, you might need to go back and reread that task order. The second thing is, the reason that I did not sign it is because as I stood there or sat there at my desk with that pen and looked at that document, I knew full well we couldn't afford to do it, made a call to the attorney, and as we began to look closer at it, you cannot write a task order for a project over $2 million without it going out for engineering bids. So I'm assuming that's why we're back to the table tonight. I'm very excited about the prospect of Kane Griffin Park being upgraded to that point. It's a walkable park. The old commission voted against putting the splash pad there over and over and over. I'm glad it's there. I think that children who are what I call latchkey children, who don't have someone to drive them out to the sports complex, if their parents are at work, they can ride their bicycle over there and they can play ball in that park. And we're going to move on to another item to talk about what we can do at Kinsall as well. I won't move on to that. But these parks within the city, we have insurance to cover all parks in the amount of $1.9 million. So if we can, with this money, upgrade all these parks so that our children can walk to these parks. We had 147 children out of 487 who played baseball in the city of Lynn Haven last season. And I know that Kinsall and Kane Griffin Park will accommodate 147 of our little children at a price tag we can afford. So I don't mean to cause dissension. I don't mean to sound negative, but I would not sit here and be silent while we say something that is not quite accurate. So thank you.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
Oh.
Commissioner
Mayor,
Aldridge, I believe, was next.
Absolutely. Just want everybody to know, I mean, we're revisiting the issues because what you guys say does matter. It does matter. We serve you. When I first got elected, one of the things I said was that I'm your servant. I am. What Commissioner Russell said is correct. It's 50-50 down the line. It's just most of the people with children are feeding their children right now. They're not at the meeting. On the flip side, again, I sympathize with the seniors. I do. But the thing I want to convey, and the reason I'm saying this, it's not the rehash 2 weeks ago. I'm excited that we can come to a compromise. That's how government should work. We bicker and we fight and that's healthy. If we didn't bicker, that's communism. Okay. It's okay. All right. But that being said, I run 2 businesses, and I don't do that to pat myself on the back, but I do it because it's my credentials. We have no debt in neither one of my businesses, and both of them do millions of dollars in revenue every single year. I don't get to that point in my life by spending $6 million on Turner Field. That wasn't, no.
Let's have order, please. Thank you.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Go ahead.
All I'm saying is, let's work it out. Let's work it out. This isn't a civil war. We don't have to stand on opposite sides of the field and shoot at each other. Let's just come to a compromise. Let's figure this thing out as intelligent adults, and we'll make it happen. We will make it happen. I promise you. Everything's going to be rebuilt. Everything is. And we're going to fight. We're going to fight over who goes first and what goes first and where it goes first and what it looks like. And that's exciting, though. We could be fighting over, are we going to dissolve our city? Because, so I'm just asking everyone, let's come together. Let's work. It's okay to be different. It's great. God made us all different, but we can work this thing out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the board have anything else to say?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Tender.
I just wanted to ask the acting city manager, do you feel, after looking at all the figures and everything, that the city can afford to move forward with this project right now?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I may, I just want to say,
Please go ahead.
I'm as excited as you are about the project. So
That is good to know.
If I just conveyed that I was a dummy by not understanding the last order, that's not in my heart. That's what I was voting for. Just the mere fact to get kids playing ball again, and I'm not, I'm a humble enough man to admit if I'm wrong, but that's where my heart was when I made that vote. And, I'll stand here and tell you that again and again, but, and the fact that we felt different, you explained it very well, but I just want to tell you that I'm excited that we can get kids back playing ball.
I'm excited too, and I think that anyone who knows you knows what your heart is for kids. I certainly do.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you. Anyone else on the board? Go ahead, Ms. Gaynor.
And Mayor, just a couple other things. just last week, and one of the reasons this is also very dear to our heart as citizens, as the city manager, is that last week at King Griffin Park, 3 times we had to turn away students and schools and churches and tell them to go down to Kensall Park to play because they all wanted to come inside the splash pad. Splash pad only holds 20, can only hold 20 people at a time, kids playing, bathing in there. And so this is going to be great for expansion of the splash pad. And I do want to say thanks to Chris Forehand and Panhandle Engineering for putting this in the plan and not charging us for it. This is something that I wanted to see come to fruition, something I wanted to see us come together and collaborate on. And so this is going to be a great park, like all of our city parks are. And just to say, seniors, we have not forgotten about you. We have a plan in mind for you as well. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later, but this is just a start of taking care of baseball. We're going to take care of seniors, and we're going to take care of football, lacrosse, and soccer.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
That's
Yes.
exactly right.
There we go. Anyone else on the board have something to say? Mr. Miller, please go ahead.
When we started talking about the King Griffin Park and the baseball field, I believe the engineer is saying that we had to get the grass down first, and so it would be able to start the kill. You do not have to have a grass infield. You can take having a good clay infield from the beginning and then add your grass to the field. I ran Woods Field. We had 4 fields. We never did play on a grass field. We only had clay. That cut down on the expenses tremendous in that way.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mrs. Walker?
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. My quick question
Sure.
is, how do we get from a vote for a yes task force, your signature didn't get on it, and now we're back to a revised?
The attorney will have to help us straighten that out if we get to that point, and I think it sounds like we're getting to that point, and I'll let him help us out on what we have to do. I know it's going to involve rescinding a motion and that kind of thing, I believe, but he'll help us to get there if that's what we decide to do. But thank you for that question. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Jerry Deal, and I just wanted to say to you new commissioners, what do I do? Okay, I'm with it now. I just wanted to say to you new commissioners that we all think you're wonderful, or at least from my side, we do. And the problem that all of us were having is that we knew that the $6 million was laid out for these buildings in the city to be made. We knew we didn't have a place for the police. We knew about the old folks, and we just didn't want you to spend that money right here on top of everything else that was going on. But I believe that you can get it straightened out, and we all love having you on the commission. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Full disclosure, that is my mom. Anyone else? Thank you, Mother.
I'd like to urge the commission to decline this vote. Is that I think that it is pushed only into 1% of our children. So we have 4,000, roughly around 4,000 children. 140 of those children roughly play baseball. What about the other children? So I think we should invest this money that we're putting into these fields into a technology center, education center, an after-school program to produce intellectual methods, because my children play baseball as well. I'm all about team sport, leadership, but we can get volunteers and we can get this stuff done without spending $2 million on it. And we could spend that money in another avenue to support all children, because all children are interested in technology and arts, but only 140 out of 4,000 are interested in baseball, and we're spending $2 million on it.
And if I may, sir, King Griffin, as Kensall is as well, they're the traditional parks of Lynn Haven, and what insurance will pay for is to restore parks to what they were with, and then we can put other upgrades there. But it's not just about baseball at Ken Griffin. As the city manager was saying, it involves the splash pad, there's concessions, there's basketball, there's picnicking areas there, there's a walking track around it, which seniors and all can use. And so even though there's a small portion that play baseball, I could support making sure that all of our city parks, because that's what the insurance policy covers, all the parks. And right now, Porter Park is in great shape. They're finishing it up with a grant we received from the oil spill funding. Kensall is in great shape except for the part that's got to be sodded, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. And Ken Griffin is a park that area is building around it. There are new homes being built there. There's a large population of children, and if you visit the parks, they're full of children, the splash pads in particular. But back to what you're saying about arts and technology, we will be discussing the library coming up at a meeting soon. And I think that may be where you want, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but that's where I would probably exert some energy and influence about maybe how much of that library are we going to use for technology and some other things besides just maybe it won't look like a traditional library. You know, there might be some options there. That's just a suggestion from me. Anyone else want to address that? Or?
So I just want to address that.
Okay, go ahead.
Our insurance coverage for our parks is roughly around $2 million for all parks.
1.9, I believe.
1.9. Why don't we consume that money first to see where we can get our parks at, and then see where we need.
I think that's what we're doing. That's what this is about. That's that amount we're talking about. That's all.
Okay. Well, it is introduced as $2 million for just this one park.
I think what the manager is telling us, and I know it is from meeting with her this week, because I'm not allowed to meet with other commissioners, nor are they allowed to meet with me. And so she's been working with me, and I'm assuming she's been working with them too, the fact that it's come to this point. And I think that there is some possible consensus, we'll find out as we move forward, that since the other parks Sheffield was the first park we restored immediately after the storm because we had to have a place for people to meet. And then Kensall followed after because there wasn't so much damage there. And then Ken Griffin, we've done repairs, but it's still got quite a ways to go. So I think that's why there seems to be a movement towards spending the rest of the money there because we have funding for the others. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Oh, okay, here we go. Go ahead, sir. No problem.
Lyle Burton, 917 Pennsylvania. I've heard words like latchkey and 50-50 people, you know, the vote is split and all this kind of stuff. But let me tell you, I was a latchkey kid. I was a heck of a football player, okay? But I hear y'all talk about the park like it's a magical place, the baseball field, these kids. I agree with this gentleman here. The magical place for me was the library, my school science lab. That's what got me ahead in the future, not football, okay? So I agree we need sports, but there are other children out there, my 6-year-old granddaughter being one of them, that loves the library, and it's gone. It's gone. And she cries when she can't go to the library. And I'm confused at why. I heard the gentleman say something about communism. Why can't we leave it up to a vote for us? Why can't we vote on where the money gets spent and when? Am I confused on this? I
No.
hear it's almost like y'all are just going to just spend the money where you want to, and to heck with all of us.
If I could respond, sir,
I'm sorry.
the 1.9 is what's allocated through our insurance reimbursement, and then there's a possibility that we would get some FEMA funds in addition to that, not in stone. The library also is included in our insurance reimbursement, and if you will come to the August meeting, the fourth Tuesday, the library is going to be the topic of discussion, and everything comes out of a different pot of money. And so this money that's allocated to the parks is meant to be spent to bring the parks back. And then when we get to the meeting with the library, that will be in August. But also, hopefully, this will bring some joy to those who are missing the libraries. We do have a bookmobile that's going to be coming very soon that's going to fill in the gap until we get the library repaired. And people are bringing many, many donations of books. There'll be some other options there as well. But I do hope you'll come back to the August meeting and have lots of input about the library. I'm a retired English and journalism teacher, so I'm on that page with you, I promise. Anyone else? Anybody else from the commission want to speak? Is there any type of motion or any further discussion?
Mayor, if I may,
Please.
I think that I would like to make a motion, but I'm not exactly sure how it needs to be worded. So if you don't mind, I'd like to defer to.
Could the city attorney help us out here?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Russell. If Commissioner Russell, you're so inclined to, and let me back up. What is before the commission today is a task order to approve $108,000 payment to Panhandle Engineering for design services. That is my understanding. Is that correct, Ms. Gaynor?
That is correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Russell, to answer your question, if you would like to rescind your former motion from 2 weeks ago and adopt this task order with an affirmative vote, I would suggest that you, since no action has been taken in furtherance of the motion that you made and was approved 2 weeks ago, I'd suggest that you amend your motion from 2 weeks ago to, if you're so inclined, to adopt what's before you, which is a task order for Panhandle Engineering for design services.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I make a motion to do what the lawyer just said.
Can I piggyback on that motion? Can I piggyback and say that,
He just made a motion, so.
I know, can I jump on that one?
No.
Or do I have to vote on that and then?
You can, somebody can second for discussion and you can discuss. And if Commissioner Russell wants to amend his motion further.
If you want to talk further, you're going to have to second the motion is what he's saying. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Okay, yes, I do want to discuss.
Go ahead.
I would like to make the motion so that we clear up any, gray areas that we have, that any steps going further will come before the commission for a vote, so that we know every step of the way, every dollar we're spending, so that we're not just having a blanket order. I don't want that.
Not spending $2 million.
That's right. We're not spending $2 million
Well,
tonight. I want everyone to know that.
But if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
while you are saying that we will come back to vote on various aspects, the fact that you just approved to pay Panhandle Engineering $104,000, that's 4% engineering fees of a total amount that you are somewhere in your mind planning to spend. So, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank
I
you.
understand that.
Thank you.
And I think maybe some of the gray areas are coming in as well with these spending differences. When we say, well, it's not going to be that number, it's going to be over that number. There's a lot of things as the mayor was talking about with these discussions and these town hall meetings that we're going to be having. Do we use top-notch LED lights, for example, or do we just use regular light bulbs? There's a big, you say, well, that's not a big difference. Hundreds of thousands of dollars difference in those two lights. So there's going to be a lot of things for us to discuss, going forward. But I want y'all involved. I really do. And I think the rest of the commission, the mayor does well. So thank you.
So there's been a motion and a second to amend the task order from last time to a motion to approve a task order of, correct if I'm right, $108,000, which would be 4% of the amount.
Of the estimated amount.
Of the asking amount. Okay, estimated amount, sorry. Any further discussion from the board?
Yes, Mayor.
Please go ahead.
I just want to ask again, because I want it out there for the public. With this vote, are we saying this project will not exceed $2 million without coming back before the board? I personally don't want to design a ball field. I don't know about how to do it. So I think we've got a city engineer and people that have done it so many times. I don't need to be there every step of the way, proving everything. But I just want to make sure that we've got a cap on this.
You are correct, Commissioner
without
Tender.
our approval.
You are correct, Commissioner Tender.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, please.
Ms. Gaynor, correct me if I'm incorrect, but when this task order goes out, the design will be done. The contract will come back to this commission for approval before any more money is spent other than engineering services, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mayor, or thank you, City Manager.
Any other discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll? There was a motion by Commissioner Russell, a second by Commissioner Aldridge.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so it stands approved. Congratulations to the board on reaching a compromise, which will help everybody, I think. Good job, everybody.
You had a rough week, I know.
Moving on to new business, item number 10. We're going to have to move faster now. We're going to move into Star Trek mode. This is discussion and possible action to expedite the sports field reconstruction for Kensall Park. Ms. Gaynor,
Yes.
report, please.
So Mayor, the Kensall Park is almost finished. The only thing that's left is the football field. Remember, we had a staging area there after the storm. We've tried to put it back to form, but not quite. So now we are taking care of the kids within the Kane Griffin Park, but there are also, Mr. Miller mentioned this last week about lacrosse, about soccer, about football, and that is going to be coming up this fall. And we want to give some other opportunities for children to be involved. We talk about taking the children off the street. These are ways that is done, yes, through technology, but these are the I don't want to say the cheapest ways, but the more economical ways right now. And so I'm asking the commission tonight to approve the task order to go on and put a football field in place so that the kids can begin in the fall to practice and play football.
Can you give us an approximate cost, Ms. Gaynor, on the?
The approximate cost right now is about, I think it's about $150,000 that we will be spending on this, and then the total fee will be $18,500.
Okay, so the fee would be the design fee?
Yes,
Is that what you're
ma'am.
talking about? So
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is sodding, sprinkler system, everything that we would need out there?
Bleachers.
Okay, bleachers, everything that we would need out there for fall football as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, Commissioner
No,
Tender, were
that's
you
okay.
finished?
Yeah,
Is-
if I don't have to expound, I'm good with that.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board or questions?
If I may, Mayor.
Please go ahead.
The park seems to be all encompassing. I just want to throw it out there for the Frisbee lovers out there, and it's a nominal cost. Is there any way we could put, I know they could play ultimate Frisbee on the field, but there's beautiful little beach area and people walk around and it's rustic around Kensall Park. Would it be possible not to put a full 18-hole golf course, but possibly 4 or 6 Frisbee golf pegs with nets so people could play around a Frisbee golf? They don't always have to start at the same spot, but they have to end at a basket. So
I saw some green cards out in the audience.
did you? Yeah, I know that's an enthusiastic sport, and I mean it's kind of bringing back the 70s a little bit, but you know.
I like that idea.
Oh well, is there any way we can add it to the engineering or anything with Mr. Forehand over there? He's
Mr.
smiling.
Forehand?
All right.
Yes. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there is a Frisbee course going in at the Biopreserve.
Yeah. Oh, I knew that over there at the BP Park over there.
Yeah, but this is a great idea.
Yeah, but I think this would be another venue, and it doesn't have to be a full course, you know, because like I said, you could do 6 pegs and 3 starting points for each one, and then get an 18-hole course in. So that'd be perfect.
So is there, do we need to have an amended motion to add that? Or
don't know if he.
If Mr. Forehand can do it within the current task order, then I don't think we need.
He's
to
nodding yes, so we don't need an amended motion. Thank you, Mr. Forehand. Is there anyone else who has on the board who would like to speak? Anyone from the public? Yes, sir.
What schools will be playing football there?
I don't know about schools. I'm thinking about the leagues that we have, the Pop Warner and some of the others. Yeah. Lynn Haven Raiders. My daughter cheered for them. Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so we approve that, and we're moving forward to item number 11. Discussion and possible action regarding the proposed city manager selection process. This is from the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll try and take your lead and be plain spoken and quick. The last day for application submittals for the city manager position is June 28, 2018 or 2019. I apologize. So with that being said, that's this Friday. I wanted to bring this before the commission, at the very least, for some insight and thought to create some methodology and timelines Although I do not, again, and I've addressed this with the commission individually as well, I do not expect tonight we are going to be able to go from today to the very end of the process. It'll be a fluid work in progress no matter what, but I would like to create some structure. So with that being said, I have set forth my thoughts, which count as 0 compared to this commission, but just to try and open up some discussion. My plan is to provide on or before July 3rd of this year the full packet of applicants. You may ask why July 3rd if it's July 28th. That's so I want to have them bound to doing something professional for the commissioners to be able to handle and read and find the candidates they wish to review easily. Thereafter, I would anticipate have a regular meeting on July 9th, 2019. If it's continued as scheduled, I would reserve that as a house cleaning day for this topic. Any issues, maybe the commission would like to re-advertise, address some issues that they may have found since the time that they were provided a full list of applicants on July 9th. Thereafter, on July 23rd, 2019, I would suggest that the commission use that time to narrow down the applicants. This time, I'm approximating, but I believe I have somewhere between 30 and 40 applicants. I would suggest that this commission, after a review of the time they deem necessary, narrow that down to somewhere 5 to 10, a number that we can put our arms around. Thereafter, between July and the end of August, depending on the number of applicants, the number of applicants is going to be key for a timeline. I would suggest that background checks are performed. I spoke to Chief Ramey. He says if it's 5, 2 to 3 weeks. He says if it's 10, 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks. It just depends based off the type of background check he wants to do, which is a very thorough background check for each individual. Through September, I would, although probably ambitious, I would hope in September we could schedule interviews with those candidates which the commission select to move forward. They would be in-person interviews. I would suggest a couple of things that the candidates selected be required to appear for the interviews in person, although it's not required. I would suggest in-person interviews for the one-on-one interviews with the commissioners and mayor. We could set up I would assume 2 to 3 days, depending on the number of applicants. But if we have between 5 and 10, I would assume 2 to 3 days. We could conclude the interview process with the in-person interviews. Thereafter, I would also suggest that the commission consider having those applicants appear at a commission meeting. They can address the commission, and the commission can address them, and they can also address the public. Would give a good opportunity to introduce the candidates to the public and watch the candidates in their mannerisms and ability to public speak. And then hopefully, again, ambitious, the selection of the next city manager could be done in October. I have provided a letter to each of y'all addressing some of this timeline and some of the methodologies I would suggest. Most I've addressed here today. I may have forgotten 1 or 2, but generally speaking, this is what I would suggest for the commission going forward. If you have any input, other ideas, anything you want me to do, obviously I work for your pleasure.
We appreciate that work that you've done on that, Mr. Albritton, and I think that what you have put forward is quite similar to what was done in the last selection, other than I noticed a couple of different things. So is there any discussion or questions from the board, or is there a motion to try and follow this timeline at this point that Mr. Albritton has set forward?
One other thing, Mayor.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Interrupted. And I did have the suggestion when interview time comes, which we're kind of going from the macro to the micro, but that the candidates don't have electronic capabilities with them, telephones, iPads, etc. I think that would be a good idea, but can be addressed once we get closer.
Okay. Is there a discussion? Is there a motion?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
After going through the hiring of the last city manager.
Commissioner Tender, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need a motion on the floor before we discuss.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
I'll make a motion that we accept this so that we may discuss it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Commissioner Tender, would you please continue? And I apologize for interrupting you.
No problem. one of the things that took place last time, and I don't know how we get around this, but we need to get around it. And that is after we all met with all the candidates individually, privately, one-on-one, then we went back before the commission and the candidates all stood up there and said what they had to say, and they answered the questions that were given to them. But at that point, in order for us not to break sunshine, we've got to do it right this time and be able to say what we know. And if we have to do that publicly, I know that the attorney said we don't want to embarrass anybody. I wish we would have embarrassed somebody last time, because that takes away, if we can't confront this applicant, I just don't know how we can do it. I don't want to really embarrass anybody either, but I don't know how doing it exactly how we did it last time gives us no recourse to question them about things that we know about.
And Mayor,
Go
if I
ahead,
may,
please.
And Commissioner Tender, I wasn't here for last time, so when you referenced last time, that had nothing to do with me. Number
Right.
one.
No,
But number two, I think there's when there's sensitive items in a person's background that you want to address, I think there's a couple of things that you can do. Sure. And you can address it in a public meeting, but I think one of the things to do would be courteous. And when in your in-person interview, say, this concerns me, let them talk about it. And if you still believe that concern, you say, it's something I want to address in the meeting. I will be as delicate as I can. I do think there's a fine line, and you're a commissioner, you get to decide where that is, not me. But I do think there's a fine line between being ugly to somebody because they have something in their past and being polite, but asking them at the same time. So I think one of the things I would, if I was a candidate and I had something in my background that interested you that may be embarrassing to me, I would appreciate at least a heads up to know that you're going to ask about it. And it at least gives me time to put my thoughts together so I'm not caught off guard based off something that may or may not have happened in my past or what have you.
Right. But I just want to double check. I am accurate in saying that even during that interviewing process, the five of us cannot, like I couldn't call Commissioner Russell and tell him what I knew about
No.
this person.
No, ma'am. No,
So
ma'am.
I either take it to the grave or I embarrass the person
Well,
in a kind way,
yeah. Well,
in a loving way.
And certainly the commissioners have their purview to ask any question they want to at any time.
Thank you.
Are there other comments or questions? Thank you, Commissioner Tender. There appear to be none. Any from the public? Yes, sir. Mr. Miller.
Will any citizen be allowed to be on this selection committee?
That was not done in the past. I don't believe he's made a provision for it now.
There's the only selection committee there that exists is the 5 members sitting on this commission.
And since we're still in discussion, I make no secret of the fact that you all know that I brought forward before the commission the possibility of having a change in the charter to a strong mayor government and still keeping some sort of city manager on staff, but it being sort of a balance of powers type thing. I have not let that particular thing drop. I would say to you that the petition process requires approximately 1,000 of the voters in Lynn Haven to sign a petition for a referendum to change the charter. It's a long process. I have about 300 signatures. It's difficult to find people unless you go door to door because of the number of people who've moved away. So I'm still entertaining that idea, but at the same point, I've got some other ideas too. But I think that that this process will involve the public in that you will be in the interview process when it's down to the 5. They'll be in the meeting. They'll be answering questions. And there's nothing that says I couldn't entertain the public's comments, that the public could say, this is the person that we liked. But it ultimately lies with the commission, which is what I pointed out before, that if you have a commission who likes the city manager and the public doesn't, then you might have to wait out 2 terms of commissioners in office before you can get rid of that city manager, which has happened here in the past. So I'm still on shaky ground about what I think about this as a future, but that's just my opinion. So.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
If we're discussing and we're putting in the methodology here, would we be against adding into the methodology that we would elect a panel of our citizens?
You would, because our city, and Adam, please correct me if I'm wrong, but our city charter plainly states that the commission hires
The
or
commission hires,
fires the city manager. The public does
but-
not have a say in that unless the charter is changed.
And Mayor, one thing I'd like to point out is I'm just trying to provide some structure to an issue that is going to have some fluidity no matter what.
Absolutely.
Once the commission narrows it down to 5, 10, or maybe the commission comes back and says, we want to interview all 30 plus individuals. That's within the purview of the commission. I'm just making a suggestion, one way or the other. It's going to take some fluidity. So as we narrow down the candidates, as we perform the background checks, if this commission wants to hold workshops to discuss those candidates, all those things are going to be on the table. We're not eliminating anything. All we're doing is trying to provide, I work best when I have structure and some sort of timeline. And that's what I'm trying to do. And staff too, city staff, because we've got to go through all this. We've got to go through the background checks. We've got to acquire the time of these individuals and calendar it with this commission. So there's going to be a lot of steps between now and then. All I'm trying to do is create, again, some structure. As we go forward, I think we will be moving. It's a moving target at this point. So I think if the commission wants to hold workshops later, that's obviously on the table. If the commission wants to move the dates back to November, December, we may be forced to. So all I'm trying to do is give an outline for the commission at this point.
In short, in non-lawyer speak, he just needs us to vote on this so that we can move forward with a skeleton and begin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any further discussion from the public? Yes. Again, we're just getting a framework here, y'all. Okay, go ahead.
Brad Yunt, 210 Lakeview Terrace. One of the things that made me feel very uncomfortable the last time was that after we had chosen the right candidate and it was time to negotiate salary, the range of salary was voted on in open committee, and the guy was sitting in the back of the room. You can't negotiate like that. There's got to be a better way.
Government is a tricky business. Is there another comment? Yours is duly noted. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Tennell. Yes, ma'am, I do. Yes, you did.
But y'all didn't listen to me. And, I really got upset and I left. And you brought me a piece.
I brought you a flower. I did. Thank you for reminding me that I was wrong and you were right. Is there some? Yes. Yes, sir.
Did I understand you right that for the final five that we can ask questions to him?
No. Now this commission could vote that you could do that, but because this commission ultimately chooses the candidate, I would doubt that they would do that. I wouldn't recommend that they do that. You can certainly listen to the questions at the end. That's how, that's just my thoughts. Is there anyone else? We need to move along, but yes, ma'am, you may, because you were right.
Years ago, Billy Kinsall was city manager. I don't think we went through all this garbage. They just appointed him. And you can't do that anymore. You have to.
Well, there is a process. The city manager process started in Lynn Haven in 1948. It happened at a commission meeting and they just decided all of a sudden to have a city manager. That's how it changed. But the processes have changed. There is a charter in place and we have to follow the charter unless we have 10% of the signatures and blah, blah, blah referendum. Anything else? Miss Arlene.
I just, my question is, whatever you do vote on here, that the proposed selection process, I was wondering if it would be the written out and available on the city of Lynn Haven's site.
I would see no problem with our doing that, but as Mr. Albritton said, this is going to be sort of a fluid process, and really all we're trying to get to tonight is just a tentative timeline. That's all we're doing, that we're voting on right now.
I just wondered if I could look up the timeline so that
if we get to a vote.
If I get off this microphone and we get to a vote, will I ever be able to find the list?
I will give you my copy if we vote right now. I'm gonna put it right here. Okay, is there any other comment? There's a motion and a second, I believe. I've forgotten. Yes, there was. Okay, Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Commissioner Furno?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, thank you. So now we have a timeline. Ms. Arlene, this is your copy. And then we're moving on to number 12. This one looks like a fairly easy one. Let's see if we can move it along. Discussion and approval of a new beautification board application. Someone has applied to work for free. This can't be difficult. Go ahead.
City staff received an application from Mrs. Erica Floyd expressing her interest in serving on the beautification board. At this point, I would ask to consider her appointment to this board.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for approval of this wonderful lady? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for being here and thank you for volunteering. Any further discussion? Any from the public? No. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Parno?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Congratulations. We so appreciate you and look forward to seeing a more beautiful Lynn Haven because you're on the board. Moving on to number 13, discussion and approval of a new general employee pension board applicant. And again, Mr. Jonke, this will be your discussion for us.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a vacancy on the Lynn Haven General Employee Pension Board, received an application from Mr. Frank Hall, and are requesting the appointment of Mr. Hall to this board.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Questions? Is there a motion? I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Now is there any question or discussion? I'm sorry. There appears to be none. Any from the public? Thank you. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Parno?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so that stands approved, and thank you so much again for another applicant. Item number 14 is mine. I'll make it as brief and quick as I can. It's discussion and possible action regarding placement of a monument commemorating children who have passed away. This will be placed in Kensall Park. And I have a poster behind me that will be available for you to look at in case the commission may need more time to consider this. But the Compassionate Friends of Bay County, and if you would stand, please, we have a representative from them. Thank you so much for being here. And this group is a group that supports people who have lost a child, brother, sister, and they would like to put a memorial in one of our parks. They're volunteering. They have many sponsors, and we can discuss this more at length, but Kensall Park is their desired location for this. This will be a beautiful garden with pavers, with names of children in our city who have passed away, brothers and sisters, a place where people can go to remember their loved ones. We have 2 playgrounds right now who are named for young ladies who are deceased because of accidents. And I didn't want to say names out loud, but the lady who came to visit me who's here tonight lost her daughter in a very tragic accident. But this park would be pavers. It would have a beautiful angel with crystals in the middle, all kinds of flowers, butterfly gardens, benches. And the thing about it that's so beautiful is they want to put it adjacent to the playground in Kensall Park. There's a place probably about the size of this library that's there. It's bordering 4th Street and the playground, if you're familiar with Kensall Park. And it would be in between the athletic field, the stormwater, and the parking lot. It's just a grassy area there. They're wanting to plant trees there. They're wanting to plant shrubbery, make it very beautiful. And all of this is at their expense. They're raising the money to do this. They would have a little markers there, but we already have 2 playgrounds. The one at Sheffield is for Suzanne Adams, and the one at Kensall is for Ashley Slanina. And so this would just be a beautiful addition to the park. I can't think of any reason why we wouldn't want to have it, but I certainly understand if the commission would like more time, because I didn't have time to get copies of it to everyone and more explanation. The only obligation to the city is that once this is built and it's there, that whoever is maintaining our park, they ask if they could, do the weeding or whatever around the trees and the shrubs and that kind of thing. That would be our only expense. So is there a motion that we would consider this, or a motion that we take it to the next meeting and have more information, or I just need some sort of direction from you?
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we graciously accept this monument, and especially it's such a great tribute to our children, and that's what this meeting has been about. And so I make the motion that we accept this.
Thank you. Is there?
I'll second.
Thank you so much for that second. Is there any further discussion? And I'll leave the poster here for anyone who wants to look at it afterwards, and then the representatives are here, and I'll let you guys introduce yourselves because I don't want to invade your privacy in front of a public meeting. But this is a beautiful tribute, and we thank you. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Congratulations. And your beautiful daughter will be commemorated there as well. So happy for you. Thank you, commissioners. I think that was great. Moving on to item number 15. This is a discussion and possible action from Commissioner Aldridge about giving the city employees July 5th off. Commissioner Aldridge, would you please talk to us?
Yes, ma'am. You know, we started off the meeting today talking about the employees and how hard they've worked, how they pulled, 15-hour days, 16-hour days through the storm. And July 5th, happens to fall on a Friday this year. So I was thinking about it, and I thought, as hard as everyone works, I'd love to see the city employees get that Friday off, so that they can enjoy time with their family, so they can maybe get caught up on some yard work or whatever it is they may have to do. If it's just lay around on the couch, that's perfectly legitimate. But I'd like to make the motion that we give the city employees July 5th off this year for 2019.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the commission?
Mayor, if I may.
Please go ahead.
For those of y'all aren't aware of it, most of our city employees have to work on the 4th because of the parade. So it just makes sense to let them have the 5th off.
And I would, if I could just add to this, last year, what we did, because it fell on a Wednesday, the community services department and the police department are really, and the fire department are really the ones who are working, on that day. And what we did last year is, and actually the suggestion, even it was from me, that we do a flexible schedule on the day after, because so there are many of the employees who actually don't work on the 4th. And so it caused a little dissension to say that, some of the people who worked on the 4th are now going to get the day off, but the ones who didn't work get the day off too. So there was a little, we could do some flexibility. I'm good with either way you want to go. Just want to point out the police and firemen are on shift work anyway. And so I remember I was down at Kensall Park, and one of the policemen was standing in the middle of the road, and he was exhausted. I'd seen him since morning. And so I was suggesting, do they have to come in tomorrow? And it was, well, yeah, because we're on shift work and the way, so there might be some compromise there about maybe doing a flexible schedule for those who have to work. But if the commission, feels that it's appropriate to give all the employees off, I just wanted you to know that some of the employees will not be working on the 4th, and so it's maybe not quite equitable, but I think it could go either way. So I just wanted to put that in. So,
Mayor, if I may?
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring this up. I had also thought about the folks that have to work on the 4th. Are they, and I'm not begrudging anybody any money. I know this sounds like a money question, which it is, I guess. Are they paid double time on 4th of July because it's a holiday?
Some of them are, but not most of the people that work on the 4th of July are salary people. So we would not get paid either way it goes. We last year it was required just about that everybody work on the 4th of July, and we did have to work that day. So the workers that are working in the morning, I think David splits his shift. He has some working in the morning, and then we have another crew that comes in at night. But most of the people that are on salary usually work all of the day.
And,
Okay.
I'm with me making the motion on that. I want everybody to understand it's not so much with me when I brought this to the acting city manager. It wasn't so much about who worked the 4th or who worked the 5th or who got off. It was just about everybody having a day off. We've all worked jobs. You like a day off, a surprise day off every now and then, especially after a hard year. I made the comment a couple weeks ago to someone. I'm like, I'm just tired. I said, I have no reason really. I hadn't done it. And they said, you do have a reason. You've been rebuilding after a hurricane for 8 months. And I said, yeah, you're right. I guess we're all tired, And everybody is tired. So if it was a Wednesday or a Tuesday or something like that, I agree. I think flexible schedules would be great. But with it being a Friday, hey, let's go to the movies.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
The last time I checked, and it's been a while, our salaries or payroll or whatever is approximately $3,000 a day to city employees. I think it should be even. I don't begrudge them the money at all, but I think it should be even. So the folks, I don't want anybody to feel like they've been treated unfairly. So I don't know how we work that out, but I do feel like the people who are working 4th of July from 8 a.m. to midnight need to be compensated somehow. I don't know if are all of our policemen, they're not all salary, are they?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, so they do get double time on the holiday, right?
Kelly, would you come and answer? We have the HR director here.
Well, holidays are built into the way we figure payroll for fire and police. They're paid differently than the rest of the general employees. So they do get like 12 hours of holiday for fire and 10 for police, whether if they work the holiday or not. So they get it no matter what. Those in leisure services, community services, if they work the hours on 4th of July, they are paid double time for the hours that they work, or they have the option to work and take that holiday on a different day. That's the option now.
Okay.
And I know last year, almost every employee, including the general employees, worked 4th of July.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've had a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or comments from the commission? Any from the public? Okay. Ms. Gaynor, you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Have a nice day off, city employees. Okay. That brings us to item number 16 is a discussion and approval to update the personnel policy number 129 to fairly compensate employees working during a declared state of emergency. This is something we talked about the other day, and I'll let Ms. Gaynor share this with you.
So this came out of our emergency hurricane preparedness meeting, and one of our staff brought this to us, is that when we came back on the 11th, many staff were working. Again, we talked about this 10, 12 hours, 14 hours. And then when those staff members actually came back on that Tuesday, they got paid for coming back on that Tuesday, but they got paid an entire, just a regular paycheck for those 2 weeks. We're talking about the staff that come in directly after the storm and work long hours, and there may be staff that can't get in, that are out of town, but they will eventually come in. They will be paid regular time, but the staff that are actually back working the storm to make the city work, we're asking for those staff members to be compensated differently.
And that's in the horrible event that we should have another
That's exactly
catastrophe like this happen again. Right. Thank you for that report. Is there a motion for approval to
Yes, ma'am.
update? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this. I think all of us know what the employees did for us after the storm, and I think they need to be taken care of.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and so it stands approved, and we move to item number 17. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for such a wonderful night. I'm looking forward to the next meeting, and we'll be discussing parks at the next one. And the sports.